bloody day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burned Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gaffer, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, God Rockin', Henrik 86, Jeranism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Tar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to raise the mic on who we've got in there, Righteous Force and 10th Man, I believe. Hopefully you can enjoy their dulcet tones if they're chatting away while I set up for the first live show.
You did see bending of the cranes. So at that level, there was enough junk to bend the cranes. But when he got it to 1 foot, he got below it. Whereas on the first video we saw, the one that the Black Swan was giving birth to, even at the 1 foot level, it was bending. Do you recall all that?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that tell you? One day it's bending, one day it's not. What's the cause?
The atmosphere.
Correct.
Yeah, but who
Different.
cares? Our argument's about the horizon. So who cares?
No, it is. No, we covered that. We'll start all over so that you can see what we're doing.
Oh, so I gotta get the sharing.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you taping now or what? Make sure it's recording first. Purdy screen. You're still there, Righteous?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened, Nathan?
I don't know. He's still gotta do the stuff he's gotta do.
Okay, whatever. So where were we? Junk in the air.
Yeah. Nathan didn't approve of that.
Well, he didn't catch the foundation though.
Okay.
It is all about the horizon.
I'm just thinking, how many times can like the ballers deny things? Like they deny compression, and then you show it to them, and they still deny it. They
Change
deny-
your question, and it will make sense to you.
Well, Brenda's here this evening, so
Oh.
Change
She
your
is.
that
question.
would answer your question, Righteous. Brenda, can you hear me? Are you muted? Sorry,
Yeah, I can take her off
didn't
mute.
mean to slag you off. Yeah.
Hello, Brenda.
I'm just listening.
because I'm kind of bored. That's all.
Yeah.
Continue
Okay.
on.
Thank you.
Brenda,
So,
do you
Righteous, just
mind
rephrase your question.
sharing?
Hang on, we're
No,
talking.
I can't hear
She
this
doesn't.
person.
Brenda doesn't want to talk, so don't force it.
Well, if you want to ask questions, go ahead. I don't care.
No, I don't. I was talking to Righteous, and someone said that you wanted to talk, but then you came on and said you're just listening. So I'd like to get back to what I was talking to Righteous about.
Okay, so how do you want me to change the question?
Well, say it the way you said it first.
How come they just don't want to accept some of these things that we keep showing them, like compression?
And a number of other things, right? Like the horizon and black swan, all the arguments, right?
Yeah, a lot of the arguments.
So why would someone not accept something when it's plain and simple right in front of them?
I don't know. I would just be maybe it's they don't want the truth.
Possible. The reasons for not accepting valid proof varies from person to person. Why a person could look at it and say, hey, I was wrong. This proves my position to be wrong. I'm going to change my position. That's a certain kind of person. Another person will see the same thing. The valid proof still proves their position is wrong. But I need more investigation because I'm just not going to change over one thing. Okay, so I continue research. The third person would be the person, I don't care what this says, I'm not wrong. So it has nothing to do with the validity of the proof that someone is sharing with another person, because that could be either proven or disproven with research. So if it's a falsified evidence, we're going to get rid of it. If it's true evidence, we would accept it. However, the person varies as to how they're going to respond to evidence. If it changes their paradigm, they might have a hard time.
Or it could simply be that your argument isn't as strong as you think it is.
Well, that's why I said upon further research to disprove or prove the evidence. So if someone says to me, I mean, this is going to be silly, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. Water is wet. And I say, no, water's not wet. I've never felt water was wet. No, water is wet. The definition of wet and water are synonymous. Water is wet. And so we can go round and round and round till somebody decides what is the true definition of water and what is wet. And how do you get wet with dry sand or do you get wet with water? So you do research and you say, you know what? All along I've had the wrong definition of that word. You're right. Water is wet. So it may not happen overnight because the person may have had a whole different definition of a word all their life. That's why the words mean things and we define words on the show.
Definitions don't prove things, though. That's part of the problem.
I didn't say definitions prove
definition-
things. I said definitions allow words to be understood as a part of the conversation.
Correct.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
so
correct.
let's go to the quote that
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas Young. Can you put that quote up, Righteous?
Okay, it's up.
Everyone see this?
Yep. Well, I don't know if Nathan is, but
Yeah, I've put it up. I can see it.
okay.
Yeah, this is an excerpt out of a full page out of tons of pages on refraction. And he's talking about looming and sinking. And he quotes a guy named Talman in 1932. When abnormal refraction increases the apparent elevation of distant objects, those words mean something, distant objects, often lifting above the horizon. Lifting above horizon, that makes sense to me. Things normally below what? The horizon, obviously, below it. The process is described as looming. So right here, Andrew Thomas Young, our hostile witness, because we don't agree with him in all things because he's a baller, but he does say this, that there are not two horizons. In the last 3 weeks, all we've heard is two horizons.
Actually, you've heard 3.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe 4 and 5. But the point is, when it comes to the pictures and the videos of objects that are distant, and the ballers say, oh, the reason you see it is because it's looming. Okay. Well, we have a definition here from your subject matter expert, but we're not talking about the objects. We're talking about the horizon based on the R, 3959 radius of the Earth at a 1 foot observer height from the same subject matter expert. You cannot be more than 1.22. I rounded off to 1.23 miles. From the
Could you put that image in the
viewers,
Discord chat, please?
what's that?
I think
You're
he wants a
referring to
photo.
some quotation, and
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
yeah, I'll
live
get that
stream
one.
Discord
Yeah,
chat.
QE's already,
not in there.
QE's quoted that 1.22 of the observer's height times the square root. That's from Andrew Thomas Young. Mick West uses it in this calculator to get 7/6R. So it's widely known, but I will put it up. I'll have to go get it, but I do have it. So based on the 1 foot
So-
observer height, that horizon that Andrew Thomas Young is referring to cannot be further than 1.23 miles out. And yet we have plenty of videos and pictures that the horizon is much further out, which means we're not on the sphere. This is checkmate,
Well,
as
the,
Nathan puts it.
You know that I'm getting the quote of 3 horizons from Andrew Thomas Young.
Yeah, but there's only one horizon. And if you want to bring Thomas Young to contradict himself, by all means, please do, because he double speaks all the time.
No, it's not doublespeak.
Yes, it is. There's
It's
not
not
3
doublespeak.
horizons, then one horizon. Objects looming, objects not looming.
No.
I think that's doublespeak.
Well, it's not a contradiction because there are 3 different definitions.
No, there's only one horizon. Quotes Talman saying that.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Now,
There might be 3 definitions, but there's only one horizon in reality. One of the definitions would be a geometric horizon based on the physicality of a sphere. And the horizon we have is not that. We definitely only have one. It doesn't matter how many definitions there are.
Amen to that. Hi,
What's
guys.
the other 2
Hey, Fletcher.
definitions? What does Andrew
Yeah.
Thomas Young say the other definitions are?
well, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the geometric horizon.
But
Because
that's
it's
the
based
problem.
on
You're
R.
not talking about the geometric horizon.
No, I'm talking about the geometric horizon based on R that you must have if we're a sphere. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the one that... There's only one horizon. The globe model's got a geometric horizon. If it's asserted that we're on that sphere, that's our horizon. We don't have a geometric horizon, therefore we're not on that sphere model. It's just that simple. We have only got one horizon. It's not geometric. Game over.
That's not our
Checkmate.
claim. That's not our claim.
Yeah, it is.
Who do you
straw man.
speak for?
It is your claim. Your claim is we live on a Earth with a radius. That's your claim.
Yes. And
Yeah, so it
there
is your
a
claim.
geometric
So why did you just say it's not our
apparent
claim?
And
What do you mean, yes?
astronomical.
You've just said it's not my claim, right? I'm interrupting you because you've just said that's not our claim. And I pointed out that's the very heart of your claim. It's the whole sum of your claim. It is the claim that we're on a sphere with sphere geometry. So it is your claim. Not just, yeah, then move on. So, yeah, your claim is that we have a geometric horizon based on the geometry in your model.
Our claim is we have a geometric, apparent, and astronomical horizon.
No, we only have one. We don't have 3. We've got one horizon. One.
Yes.
That's on screen now for the audience. One
Not
horizon.
Our claim. Not our
Doesn't
claim.
matter how many definitions there are. We've got one. And the one horizon in your model is geometric. That's it. Game over. It's either geometric, like your model says,
no, it's
or it
not.
isn't.
No, it's that you're just misrepresenting our model.
I don't care
Here.
what your model's got. Your model isn't reality. So I'm not misrepresenting your model when I say your model has got a geometric horizon. That's a fact. Go to any model. Go to Mick West's model. It's got a bloody X next to it with the word horizon. So you have got a geometric horizon in your model, and we only have one horizon in reality. So if the horizon in reality is not the geometric horizon, it's not the geometric horizon. That's the end. Doesn't matter if you can define it 6 ways,
Oh, we don't
10
claim
ways,
that there's
20
only
ways.
one.
We've only got one in reality. It's just not geometric, like your model.
No, we don't claim that there's only one horizon. We claim that
I don't give a fuck what you claim. In reality, we only have one horizon. Regardless of what you claim, I can see. I don't need you to define what I can see. Yeah? We've only got one horizon in reality. I don't care what you claim.
Well, we claim that there's a geometric as well as an apparent horizon.
I know. Yeah, you claim there's two. Geometric and apparent. Redundant. All horizons by definition are apparent. It's a redundant word you've utilised to engineer a second horizon that we do not have. So I appreciate that you are incorrect and assume we have two. Yeah, we know you think there's two. There isn't, though. There's only one. What part of that don't you get? You've got two, one of which is geometric. We've only got one in reality.
I'm just going by what Andrew Young says, and
Who
if he's your
cares?
source for
So if
some
Andrew
facts,
Young tells you
have to
there's
accept it
25
for all of
horizons because he's written it down, that means he's right. He can say there's 5 or 7 or 12 horizons. There is only one, regardless of your use of this crap citation.
We're talking about
So Andrew Young is
Can I
crap?
ask,
Hang on,
can I ask
hang on,
Brenda a
hang,
question?
hang on 1 second. Let me wrap it up with Brenda, then you can do it. We're talking about the physical Earth and the physical horizon. And I just put up the quotation, if you could put it up, Righteous, of the values he gives for this. And this is what makes up the Earth curve calculator, the 7/6R. And we already just saw him quoting Talmage, I believe it was. Tell me when you got it up.
Hold on.
Yeah, Talman 92. When abnormal refraction increases the apparent elevation of distant objects, often lifting above the horizon things normally below it, the process is described as looming
Stop.
because we associate
Stop.
certain apparent attitude.
Yeah. We read it 3 times already. The point is above the horizon, that normally below
Okay.
it. We're talking about the physical horizon based on what you're going to see next.
No, he's talking about the apparent
Hang on,
horizon.
hang on.
All horizons are
Just hang on.
apparent. So he doesn't need to engineer this extra word you've got now to give you 2 horizons. All horizons, by definition, are apparent. So when you say, no, he's talking about the apparent horizon. Yeah, because all horizons are apparent. You engineering in a second one and calling it apparent, which is redundant when you're talking about horizons, doesn't give you 2.
All right, my quote is up. I'm going to read it. Numerically, the radius of the Earth varies a little with latitude and direction, but a typical value is 6378 kilometers, about 3,963 miles. If h is in meters, that makes the distance to the geometric horizon. See, we're talking about that one. 3.57 kilometers times the square root of the height of the eye of the in meters, or about 1.23 miles times the square root of an eye height in feet. Andrew Thomas Young talking about geometric horizon. So we're talking about geometric horizon. I'm done. Go ahead, Fletcher.
Yeah, in that case he is,
Um,
but you're not taking into account the apparent horizon.
Sorry, I'll say it for a 3rd time. Right, Brenda, if you don't acknowledge what I say this time, I'm going to remove you from the conversation. By definition, all horizons are apparent. You utilising something that is in the definition of the word horizon to insert a second horizon with a redundant terminology of apparent will not give you 2 horizons in reality. We only have one. Your models is geometric. Now, we don't have a geometric horizon in reality. You using this word apparent, your geometric horizon is also apparent. So it's redundant and it doesn't give you two. Please don't, for the fifth time on this during this conversation, repeat that the word apparent suddenly gives you a second horizon to compare with the geometric horizon, which also by definition is apparent. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying, but your argument is fallacious because
It's not an
there are more
argument.
than one
I'm not
horizon.
arguing. I'm
And
telling
your
you.
source-
I'm
the
not
source that
arguing with you.
the
You
source
don't
that
get
you
it.
reference,
You don't
Andrew
get it.
Young,
I'm not
says that
arguing
there
with
are
you.
two.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm correcting you because you keep using a second horizon termed apparent when the word apparent is in the definition of horizon. You're utilizing the word to give you a second horizon, and the word apparent is redundant. Number 1 point I'd like you to acknowledge. We don't have two horizons. Number 2, the word apparent utilised by you to create a second horizon in comparison to your already apparent position based on geometry is the word apparent, redundant, and also not true in reality. Not two horizons, point 1. Not an apparent second horizon. That term is redundant, point 2. Do you understand?
You're just wrong. And
Right,
I can prove
I'm just
it.
wrong. No, I am
prove it by
correct, and I am
referring to
correcting
Andrew Young.
you who doesn't understand English. So now you're removed from the conversation because I wasn't asking for your opinion on how right or wrong I am when I factually state that the word apparent is redundant when you are describing a horizon. By its definition, it is apparent. So utilisation of the word apparent to create a second horizon we don't have won't fly. The word's redundant. So you know I'm not wrong. I am telling you by correction where you are incorrect. Don't need to be told by the one who's incorrect that I'm wrong. I'm factually right.
Nathan.
Your word is redundant. Goodbye.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Nathan, before you let her go, can I ask a
No,
question?
no.
No, because she
Brenda's
just
gotta
fucked
go.
you around like she's
It was
fucked me
one-
around for the last 5 minutes. So I was tempted, if it wasn't for the fact I was making a cup of coffee when the conversation started, to get rid of her. She's a proven liar. So given that
Yeah,
she's a
and
proven liar, I have no tolerance for her. Literally zero. So yeah, she can join. Yeah, she can start and participate in a conversation until something like that happens. Then she can leave.
Okay, can I ask you the question, Nathan?
Yeah, of course you can. Sorry to have kicked her out before you got to ask. I know you were waiting in the wings. I did hear. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
There you go. An apology from me.
I wanted to ask her, does her sphere have a tangent?
A very good question. Yeah, to give them the geometry, they'd use a tangent line, a straight line between target and observer. No, between the physical obstruction and observer. So yes, they have a physical
So-
straight line tangent that they're now bending with 7/6r. They've completely eradicated the geometric values by bending the line they're calling a tangent. It's ludicrous.
If they got double speed craziness.
They've got a floppy dick for a tangent line now. It's ridiculous. No laugh. Fair enough. Ridiculous? No. Okay.
I was laughing, my phone froze.
Hey, Righteous, can you put the next quote from Andrew Thomas Young up, please, if you get a chance?
Yeah.
Very interesting, Nathan. When I go through his material, there's a lot of violation of the law of non-contradiction, obviously, but this one was interesting. Tell me when you got it.
Oops.
This is on the page
And I'm
title.
sorry, Tim. I can't let that good joke go unnoticed, Nathan. Ridiculous. All right, continue.
This one is an excerpt towards the end of the page titled Refraction. Everyone see it?
I can, but it's too small. But go ahead.
All right,
Oh,
calculating.
is there a way to make this bigger? I don't know how yet.
Don't worry.
Don't
It's
worry.
on screen.
Calculate. All right, I'll read it. It's there. Get your glasses on. Calculating atmospheric refraction. All the discussion above deals with plane surfaces. But the Earth isn't flat. To deal with refraction in a curved atmosphere, we have to introduce some geometrical considerations, which have been put on a separate page. Likewise, the atmosphere doesn't contain separate layers or different refractive index. The ray bending produced by continuous distribution of density is discussed on another page. You're not interested in the details of the calculation, but still want to know more about the refraction of astronomical objects by the atmosphere. See the page on astronomical refraction. So, a couple of things here. Geometric will have a different refraction than astronomical. We are talking about one horizon, geometric, tied to the R, the physical one that they need. But all of his refractions calculations on this page were done on a flat plane surface. And he says, but the Earth isn't flat. So we're going to have to make up crap. I love it.
It's a
Yeah,
massive
that's
string of
always
double
awesome.
speak. I love it.
that's I always ask them, do they know what type of refraction they're claiming?
No, because they can't.
Nathan,
The only
can you
one they've
post
been
that
told by
in,
they've been told, according to Rumpus, by Thomas Young, to use terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as standard refraction, 7/6R. Now, what has just been read out by 10th Man confirms that they're going to be basing it on the geometry. They have to take some geometric considerations. Yeah, it's not air in their bloody geometry maths. It's 7/6 of the radius, or any mathematical value that they want to insert. So it's got sod all to do with air, and everything to do with the geometry. It's based on R. So they're absolutely screwed. The R value gives them a geometric horizon, and then they're going to what? Take the R value in the geometry, bend light at a given rate based on mathematics of R, to give them a second horizon. Well, where's your first horizon? Oh, well, we don't have that anymore. Well, where did you base the geometry for the refracted light on? Well, on the second horizon. It's like you don't have one. What are you talking about? That's absolutely screwed. It's checkmate.
I can't actually believe people still try and defend the globe after this.
I can, because they're fundies. When we were describing earlier, again, 10th Man is like describing all the different perspectives that you can have in terms of your outlook after you get this sort of information. You can be open to it, you can be sceptical of it, or you can completely ignore it. Well, the last one is the fundamentalist religious zealots approach. No, I am always right regardless of what you present me. That's what we deal with here. Well, the good thing about that is that when you are in a position like this where it's checkmate, every move they make leaves them in checkmate. They're not going to move to any position that's going to save them. It's not check, it's checkmate. So if they try and wiggle or move, they're just in another square that leaves them equally screwed. So refraction, based on the geometry, that's just as useless a position to be in. So they've got nothing, literally nothing to answer this with. So they have to lie. That's what mentally people do when they're a zealot. Lie. Because they can't ever square this circle. So they end up lying about us having two horizons. No, we don't. They end up lying and saying that the apparent nature is engineered into the calculation. No, it isn't. There's no apparent sizes in there. So they lie. Yeah, the apparent size is taken care of with the geometric R value inserted into our version of refraction. No, that's not angular. That's not apparent. That's actual, physical, geometric, as all the names of the calculation suggests. You're implying the physicality of a sphere Earth. So to deny the physicality, which is their rebuttal, oh, it's apparent. Well, you're denying the physicality you're claiming in your religion of a globe. Still checkmate. You're just literally, basically giving us the concession we need. Oh, it's not physical then. So not a geometric horizon then. Yeah, your model needs one of those.
The biggest contradiction is just taking time and just reading Andrew Thomas Young's writings and then comparing it not to what you say, excuse me. Excuse me, not to what you say, Nathan, or Kiwi, or me, or anybody, or Flatzoid, or even Brenda, but to what he says. Now, get this one, for example. We've already got his quotation saying, him quoting Talmage, that there is a physical horizon that things can loom over that are normally below it. Well, that has to be physical. So he's already talking about the physical horizon there, as he quotes this other guy. Then he'll say other things that are opposite that. But this one's the best. The geometric horizon isn't something you can actually observe. It's just sort of a thought experiment, what you would see if the atmosphere did not exist. Since it assumes no refraction, it obviously can't be affected by refraction. So, wait a minute, you just said that looming occurs with a geometric horizon because it's being loomed, what's below it is being loomed above it. But now you're saying you can never see it, and it's a thought experiment. Which one is it?
Well, it's both. You're having buildings and boats be loomed above a thought experiment. That's what's actually happening. It makes total sense.
But how could he claim looming without refraction?
Well, how can you claim looming without a physical geometric horizon?
Yeah, to loom above. Yeah, well, in his first explanation, he's got a physical edge that he describes as physical for things to move with respect to. But now he's got a secondary position with regards to this physical edge for boats to go over that is it's just a thought experiment. So what? It's a thought experiment when it's a geometric impossibility, but it's a physical sphere edge reified by way of a geometric model when the atmosphere is conducive with your reification of that model. Oh, I see. So some days it's a thought experiment, and some days it's the physical edge of a sphere. Well, no, it can't be both. It's either the physical edge of a sphere, in which case it's dictated by the geometry and the parameters thereof, or it's a thought experiment. As we've proven with the Black Swan, it's the latter. The geometric horizon's a thought experiment, nothing more, because we don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. Game over, Globe.
Except we got him quoted saying that all of his refraction calculations were based on the plane, flat Earth surface. And then he says, but we know the Earth isn't flat. So to see what I've done with the math.
Worse. He says that it's come from the geometry. So when he talks about how the atmospheric refraction works, you have to make some geometric considerations. So that's based on physical geometry that you will be taking into consideration to extrapolate out a radius value based refraction. Well, if it's based on the physical geometry and you're saying that's just merely a thought experiment, you're going to have your geometric considerations thought experiments also. Yeah, it leaves you screwed completely. Now, obviously, no one's noticed this doublespeak before now. But we're noticing, and the fundies who come along and say, well, our horizon's exclusive of all atmosphere. Oh, really? So the atmosphere that you're going to engineer in with 7/6R, that's based on the geometric considerations, is going to give you a non-physical horizon? Well, your whole premise of your religion is that it is physical. That's what you're claiming. They're so screwed. It does make me chuckle.
That's why I love asking if they got a tangent or not. Because then they're forced into answering it.
Yeah, you've got to start by having the physical geometry to base all these calculations on. So yeah, you can draw your little donkey dick bending down to an apparent horizon when you've got a second one marked with geometric, 2 horizons in the depiction. Well, yeah, you can do that in your geometric model based on your refraction. And what do we have to do when we calculate that refraction again, 10th man? Oh, we've got to take into account some physical geometry. Some geometric considerations must be taken about the physicality of the sphere Earth you're claiming we live on. So it's based on the physicality that you don't have anymore. They just don't know how screwed they are. Every avenue's got a concise rebuttal now, and they're being rattled off like this when they come with their nonsense of 2 horizons, or their geometry only being based on us not having any atmosphere, so we've never got physicality to deal with. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that would be our position. We've never got any physical geometry to concern ourselves with. Merely a thought experiment.
All we're going to hear from them now is, oh.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of flapping.
And I also love it when they say days with days with no atmosphere. I'm like, okay, so how did you survive that day?
Yeah. When it matches up and seems to be geometric. Oh, well, we had no atmosphere that day.
Yeah, nobody was able to breathe that day.
Standard refraction was no refraction at all, atmosphere exclusive. Look, I remember a commenter once saying, I don't even need refraction for this. It's like, oh, right, so what you're saying is this particular observation matches your geometric mathematics side on in Muppet Vision when you exclude all atmosphere. I see, isn't that handy, given that it's been declared currently that atmosphere is exclusive of the horizon in all circumstances, so the looming of the horizon's always looming above or below with respect to the geometric horizon when you take geometric considerations to give you the refractive value to refract it around its own physicality with its own geometry that is not physical. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Righteous Force, Paul Hall, Flatzoid and 10th Man in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning, all.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
What up?
Eventful weekend for me. Lots of people producing Black Swan images, more than I can keep up with. So lots of shout outs to be had for people who've been out there and either rummaged through their own footage and found black swans they didn't know they had, or gone out and created new ones. Some revelations. One chap, a baller, has pretty much had an epiphany whilst capturing what he wanted to be a white swan, and then sort of argues with himself while he sees it. Very, very interesting weekend. And then Eddie Bravo shouted me out. So massive thanks to Eddie Bravo. I've gained about 300 subscribers, so welcome to all the new subscribers. Thank you very much for coming and subscribing off the back of that shout out. Really do appreciate it. But yeah, cool.
Hell yeah.
Should we do some housekeeping? Hey, Arwin.
Yeah, we have black swans on ice and everything.
Well, speaking of black swans, any evidence of a physical Earth curve edge capable of geometric measurement?
They can't even find an actual tangent.
Nope.
Say that again, Flatside.
Sorry, man, nothing like that laying around.
They can't even find an actual tangent.
Yeah, they'd have to have a straight line tangent to this claim to be physical edge of a sphere that blocks boats in the distance for them to extrapolate geometry to give them values that aren't based in air but based in mathematics at 7/6R if you class it as standard refraction. You know, you've got to have some geometric consideration if you're going to be extracting out that from that value that gives you R. It's 7/6R. So you need the geometric certitude of the physicality of a sphere Earth to base these refractive values, not really refracted, just geometric maths, right? So you need a tangent. That's right.
Well, no such physical edge can be denoted accurately.
Bummer. Yeah, we don't have a geometric sphere edge for a horizon. Any evidence at all of any Earth curvature?
Not from Tehachapi.
Tehachapeak.
Yes, that's on the way to Bakersfield.
Okay.
Tehachapeak. A bit
Ship
like.
hasn't been covered since the beginning of time.
Got anything to do with the Chesapeake? Is that close by?
No, this is near Mojave Desert and Bakersfield. It's right in between. Oh, and by the way, there's a town called Arvin, Arvin. Shout out to Arvin.
The horizon is not physical.
Very good.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
Not of the Earth-based variety.
Definitely not.
Scientific evidence of gravity?
They don't even know how to define it, Nathan.
No science.
They still can't get over that it's not even a force. I had this elaborate discussion over at Jose's again for like an hour in between the ballers, and they just couldn't handle it.
As much as it pains me to do this, you were singing his praises, Jose J.G. Gonzalez. So,
Well, Jose himself was doing okay. It's just the ballers were terrible that are in the panel.
I did the same, Nathan. Friday, I enjoyed a session in Jose's Friday and compliment him on it, especially as I was.
Jose himself, he was pretty gracious. It's just that the ballers that hang around there get so bad sometimes. Yeah.
He's certainly always very welcoming to me. Jose, I can only speak for how he deals with me. And he's always very accommodating and gives me a bit of space, even when I was very, very drunk on Friday.
well, there you go. Consider yourself lucky. Hey, Jose J.G. Gonzalez, you've had a bit of a shout out. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Redman, your mic's wide open.
Anything from 10th Man, from Becky?
No, Dr. Becky is still avoiding very simple questions for the hypothesis. So I take it it's pseudoscience then.
Are you still in correspondence, then, for just? Are you just waiting?
I followed up when 2020 started, left another message, and I'm still waiting. So it's like maybe every 3 months I'll pop in, maybe, because it'd be silly on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, a bit stalkery, wasn't it? Answer me!
Well, yeah, you don't want to troll her, but you do, by the same token, want to point out that you've asked and you haven't got a reply. Just ask FE News' super chat question. One sec. FE News, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Any scientific evidence that refraction can make geometric horizon disappear and create a new non-geometric horizon? No, it's a complete non sequitur fallacy, FE News. You can't loom the horizon above the horizon. It wouldn't be scientific evidence anyway. You're not establishing cause and effect. So there's a few people out there. I should have put that in the debunking video. I made a short debunking video for some of the commonly used rebuttals to the Black Swan argument. I should have put that in there. But there we go. Thank you very much for the super chat, FE News. Any evidence of a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No. Just pictures.
Only in the glow.
Still makes me think of marshmallows over fire.
Right.
How about the R value? Any evidence of that?
There's
Which R
lots of
value?
evidence of the R value being used in math. That's about it.
Math doesn't prove things, remember?
Yeah, but still in there, just like the big G.
You mean the R value that Andrew Thomas Young says is 3963 miles, and then takes a measurement from it that the horizon can be no further than 1.23 miles at 1 foot observer height? That R value, that doesn't exist? That's physical?
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah. The
Do any of those
the mathematical
calculations-
extrapolation from the misinterpretation of the horizon.
Go on, JQ.
Do any of those calculations give you an apparent size, 10th man? When you were
Good question.
Andrew Thomas Young was bringing that up. I was curious. There's a lot of actual sizes in that definition. Were there
That's
any
correct.
apparent sizes?
That's correct. There's no apparent sizes in their maths. It's amazing that they're all bandying around this redundant word apparent, and yet the calculator doesn't deal in apparent anything. It's all actual sizes, feet and inches that don't change with distance, as opposed to apparent sizes that would change with distance. No, they don't account for those. Isn't that amazing? Excellent point, JQ. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? And then I'll read out FE News at the super chat. Thank you, FE News.
What is the sun?
No, we don't know how far it is. Gonna warm up my day, though.
I'll let you have this one, FE News. Any evidence, any experiment of quote-unquote gravity containing air pressure in a vacuum chamber? I'll let you have that one. Thank you very much for the super chat. In all seriousness, I really appreciate your support. Keeping the lights on. What do we have last? Distance to the sun? Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? There you go, FE News.
Nope.
The antecedents of the thing.
You've gone all mumbly. Say that again, Flatsoid.
The antecedent for gas pressure.
I heard. It's the I heard him though. I'll just repeat it because he's quite mumbly. He said it's the necessary antecedent. Yes, a container would be.
Sounds
the
like
necessary.
he's in a container.
he's in a sealed container.
Yeah, let's hope he's not getting kidnapped.
I'm in space.
I love how.
Oh, and is that you swearing in chat or a different account?
Yeah, that was me.
I'll let it go. I thought it was, but
I'll nip in the bud that science question from FE News now that the housekeeping's over. So when people come to us and say, "What's the scientific evidence for any part of the Black Swan argument that they don't understand?" That's typically what we get. Nobody's asserting this is science. Science is really narrow, and we catch out the globe side because they constantly assert that everything's science. So when they do, we ask them for their scientific evidence, independent variable, dependent variable, because of their assertion that they're using, making a load of noise with their mic open in Discord, because of the assertion, Redman. So
yeah,
it's
I had
a
him on
question
mute.
that's-
Just leave him on mute.
It's a question that's invalid. We don't have this assertion of science with this claim. It's a logical consistency argument, not a claim of scientific evidence. So that straw man, when it gets burned, just brush them to one side, point out nobody's claiming this is science. They're so used to their own side claiming science for everything that they project it onto us. Well, where's your scientific evidence? Sorry, we didn't say the whole body of science proves the horizon is blah, blah, blah. That's your kind of crap. That's the stuff you say, not us. So yeah, now that's nipped in the bud, Darwin. So you said you got a bit, hence me getting pricking my ears up, a bit Nathan-ish or something, words to that effect. What was that all about? And whatever do you mean? I'm perfectly polite and approachable in every respect.
Well, as long as people let you actually finish your sentences, you are, you know. But yeah, you have a way of retaining control over the situation when people overtalk you, and I kind of borrow it because you have to. Because if you don't immediately start spanking them for their antisocial conversation behavior, they're just gonna wallow all in their self-claimed victory of rumpusing you, and then yeah, there's nothing you can do after that point. So I just Nathaned it, just said, oh, look at the fundies, they have to, of course, can't let me finish their explanation because they don't really want to know, that kind of thing. So not as hardcore as you were on Friday on Zanuck, though.
Only because the timing's inducing. I wouldn't normally say this on a live show, but I'll give you the tip anyway. So one of the things I do, which works quite beautifully, is I actually tell them that I'm going to mute them. I don't. Normally the mouse is nowhere near me. But, you know, I'll show for the audience's benefit now. You can probably see, you can't actually see my mouse, but as I move my mouse over these people, you can see when I highlight one of them, a little box appears, and I've got to go into it and physically press on the mute button. Well, that all takes, a few seconds to do. Well, normally I'll say, right, I'm going to mute you, or some words to that effect. I can't remember the exact phrase I use. It's different each time. But I allude to the idea that they're going to be shut up. And often that shuts them up. In other words, I don't need to actually mute them at all. You just say, right, I'm going to shut you up. That's what I say. I'm going to shut you up, which implies I'm going to mute them. I don't. Right. And then I just carry on with my point.
Right, you don't beat them with the stick, you just hold it over their head.
Exactly.
Yeah, it works, I guess. I can't do that, of course, if I'm just a panelist. So.
It's just a turn of phrase. I'm going to shut you up. Doesn't mean anything. You know, but
if you have control over the server or the panel or something,
doesn't matter.
Then it has weight. But if you're just a fellow panelist, yeah, you can say that. But it's not going to have that weight. It's like, oh, wait, I'm actually being threatened to get muted. Now I need to shut up.
But think about it. Forget about the servers. Think about a two-person situation. You're literally on a stage, in a debate. You both sat opposite each other on a chair. And instead of the way I phrase it, you just slight rephrasing to, this will shut you up. And then you make your point. If somebody's rumpusing the hell out of you in person, no, you can't physically stick a piece of tape over their mouth. But using the terminology, this will shut you up, ultimately puts them into a position where you're being told that this is going to shut you up. It's a psychological tool. I don't want to overemphasize this too much because it's my trick that I'm revealing. Nevertheless, just take it as read, Arwin. Let's move on.
I hear them say that shit to me all the time too, It
right. Exactly.
Oh, this is going to shut you up. Oh, you just don't know this. You don't just...
Exactly.
All right.
Now you
but I get
it.
what you mean. I get what you mean.
And there's been loads of black swans. I said just before we did the housekeeping, I can't keep up with them. So obviously I'm searching these search terms, and I'm coming across them and go, bloody hell, there's another one. It's because people know what it is. The people who are understanding it are going through their hard drives and going, oh yeah, I remember going out and seeing something that I published and got a load of hate for. Let's have another look at it and work out where the horizon should be. Black swan! I saw someone in the comments saying that the horizon must be beyond whatever it is you're observing. I'm like, no, that's not what a black swan is. As long as the horizon is in a position that's geometrically impossible, that said, that means beyond, not before. Just in case anybody was uncertain about that. But yeah, once it's beyond the physicality that it can be, it's a black swan. It doesn't necessarily have to have these... Yeah, the first example was epic because you've got these 2 points that literally tell you how far you are out, and therefore the horizon behind them can only be further. But you can still work it out with other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case that the horizon's beyond whatever it is you're looking at. It's just a nice way of presenting it in that image, which is why that one's been used as the poster child.
Yes.
Yeah, keep it up. I hope more people get it, understand the strength of the argument. If the rebuttal is that the horizon's not physical, your response is welcome to flat Earth. It's a really good argument. Should I be presenting that? Who's that? Adam?
It was just along those lines. I was in Discord for the weekend, and somebody's posted this look, proof that a basketball is flat, and I just thought it was a fantastic example of what a geometric horizon is. Look, if you do zoom down so that if a ball is gone to microscopic level so it appears to the observer to be flat, you are still subject to a geometric horizon. And in this case, the point where the geometric horizon kicks in is only after like 3 dimples on that basketball. And past that point, look, everything's fallen away. I'm not sure why a baller would be trying to claim that proves it's flat. It kind of demonstrates the point to me that this, if you are claiming you live on a ball, this geometric edge is fundamental of how you will view the world.
Right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to risk a copyright strike, but nevertheless, I'm going to play it anyway because it's worth it. It is done in the context of... Oh, why do I even bother disclaiming fair use? There's no point. Anyway, right, I'm going to share the video. This is made by a dude who I ripped one of his debates with Dark Star. And go on, post it, you bugger. Do a community post. Okay, I'll share it with the chat. So, this is... Let's get his name correct. Indio 007. So he's a regular on 24/7 Discord. That's the link to this particular video. But what he's done is he's gone and trimmed out a whole bunch of examples that are given to the mainstream with, look, this is just how physical and geometric our horizon is. So what I'm going to do while you guys are chit-chatting, I'll leave it to play out for the audience so you can actually see what he's presented. I'll try and make it a bit bigger as well. But you'll have to go to the live feed if you actually want to watch. But I'll give you the audio as well just for this first bit. Okay, so I'll just leave it to play through as we're chit-chatting. But basically he's showing things like the BBC, where they take a watermelon and a little cork boat and show you how, as it goes over, just like I did with the pink ball and the little wedge of cheese, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
So he's just showing that, but by example, by all the mainstream outlets who are telling you just how physical it is, because they're currently... His context, so Indio 007's context, is to say, look, they're currently denying the physical edge of a sphere. It was the same point I made with the exact same snippet from his debate. But their point, here we go, as you can see on screen now, they show this is what they claim, this is that's National Geographic, and and so it will continue with all of the different examples of, look, going over the physical edge. You know what I mean? Because they're currently like, no one claims we have a sphere edge for the boats to go over. It's like, yeah, you do, it's the basic tenets of your religion, for God's sake. So yeah, as I say, he goes through all the different examples and shows them. I've done a video on this dude too when it came out, but I didn't recognise this, how useful this would be. So there we go. I think it was worth the risk just showing this because...
Bottom first.
Yeah, I know.
They figured it out.
Good morning, guys.
Hey,
Yeah,
chocolate.
yeah.
there's him. Go and
Indio, I
subscribe.
don't think I'll have a problem with playing this because he said it himself. He's not going to let them weasel out of it. This has been their argument for years, and now they just deny the physical aspect of their geometrical horizon. So he's not going to let them out of it. So
Can we get Adam's picture back up for a minute? I
Yeah,
wanna
sure.
Talk to Adam.
Yeah, give me a sec, mate.
Basketball one.
Yeah. All right. So this is interesting because it's a good analogy, I guess. I just typed in what's the diameter of a basketball, and it said that the standard NBA basketball is 9.43 to 9.51 inches in diameter. So if we half that, get the radius, say 9.5, half that, it's what is that? That's 4.75 inches in diameter. Okay. Well, if it's diameter of 4.75 inches, and then they say the circumference of the ball is anywhere between 29 5/8 to 29 7/8. So if we know these factors, like they say, hey, wait a minute, that sounds like the Earth. 39, 59, 24,903, kind of like the basketball. So we're going to be able to know the geometric horizon of it, just like he's got a picture here based on the circumference and the radius. Well, mainly the radius, obviously. So, Adam, I think you got something here.
Well, that's my point. This is their whole premise. What they're presenting to you here is, and only is, a geometric horizon, which is the thing that is generated if you live on a ball. The geometry of the ball generates a physical horizon. Now, my only other point is how many dimples are looming up above that physical horizon to make the rest of that basketball appear flat. We're not. All they've got there is a very small cross section, yeah, and there is absolutely nothing other than a geometric edge and a drop away.
Actually, the horizon based on the quotations we read earlier, will never loom. It's the objects behind it.
And simultaneously, that's not really a horizon that you're seeing. That's just a thought experiment of a horizon.
Yes.
Well, it is in a ball world now, isn't it? It used to be the leading edge of that basketball, but it is no longer the leading edge. It's just loomed.
Before we start on the sarcasm, though, no. That is what we are talking about when we talk about physical geometry. That is the physical leading edge of a sphere. Literally, physically. That's what it is. And that's what the geometry is based on. This is all very moot, because ultimately speaking, we've debunked the physical horizon. They're all arguing for it being apparent. And as JQ pointed out earlier, their mathematics isn't dealing in apparent anything. So it's all moot. It's game over.
The funny thing is, this is an anti-flat Earth meme. Like, this is supposed to make fun of flat Earth, but right here they're proving their geometrical horizon.
Right.
And I can guarantee you, there was atmosphere there.
Right. Anyway, a couple of super chats. So shout out to FE News, who says cheers. I think that was for the explanation in regards to maybe, was it gas pressure without a container? I forget. Thank you very much for the thanking of me and the super chat. Really appreciate your support, FE News. Also, woo! Shout out to Windrider, who's one of my patrons. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. He says, from Florida, keep kicking butt. Certainly tried to do so. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Windrider. Really appreciate it.
Shout out to Eddie Bravo, who shouted out Nathan.
Shout out to Chocolate Saying for shouting out Eddie Bravo, who shouted out Nathan.
Shout out to Iron Realm Media for just trying to get in on the shout outs of people who'll be listening from Eddie Bravo's chat. That's Iron Realm Media. Have no sphere.
Have no
Shout
sphere.
out to Adam.
Did you guys shout out Sam Tripoli?
Shout out to Chocolate for the shout out after the Iron Realm shout out. Have no sphere.
Go on, whoever it was in Discord.
I just said, did you guys shout out Sam Tripoli?
Yeah. I mean, I noted the show number. I put a link to his show. So yeah, definitely. Big shout out.
Hey, let's give a big shout out to Spurs Chemo again.
Yeah, Spurs does need some kudos. He does need kudos. He's got this argument to the point where he's like, well, it's really simple. It's like, yeah, it is when you get it. Yeah, you can go out and absolutely rape them once you get the argument. But he's like, does nobody else get it? There are people not getting this argument. Like, yeah, Spurs. On both sides, there's plenty of people who don't get it yet. Just because you've got it completely and are ripping them to pieces with it doesn't mean everybody gets it. But well done to you. You get it and you're destroying them with it. It's ace. I ripped it. Again, that was another thing that I mirrored over the weekend. So Spurs just absolutely demolishing them. And he can go off on whatever tangent he likes because he understands the premise of the argument. He's off onto debunking radar off the tangent with Black Swan as the basis of the argument. And you're like, yeah, you can go off wherever you like with it once you demolish the idea of a physical sphere edge. And he gets it. So he's just destroying him. Yeah, big shout out to Spurs.
You remember a long time ago, I told you about my boat and I had a radar system on it. I think it was 16 miles. It might have been 8, but I can't remember now. But there were boats with, up in the 90-mile range as well. And then the Navy boasts of 250 that they're willing to tell us about. And this is direct line of sight. So 1.23 miles? Give me a break.
And that's with refraction.
No, that's based on the geometry.
Terrestrial.
Yeah, it's times the observer's height in feet. So it's just altitude and geometry. Yeah, the physicality of their sphere based on your height. That's it.
Well, that's what the guy said to Spurs who was debating him. It's a straight line. It just shoots straight out. And Spurs held his feet to the fire.
Is that the guy who got silenced and he was just like, well, I'm just going to watch football.
Yep. Yeah, that was great.
Hold on, great. Very important business to attend to. So JQ says, thanks for the super chat first and foremost, JQ. Says, I'd like to buy a horizon halfway between the Riley horizon and the chocolate horizon. Done. We've got the JQ horizon. We've got the chocolate horizon. We've got the Riley horizon. We've got the apparent horizon, we've got the astronomical horizon, we've got the geometric horizon, and we've got the horizon to be named later by another participant who might want to super chat if they want to buy a horizon from me. Obviously, it's arbitrary and completely meaningless, but they're up for sale if you want one. Also, snake oil and globes. Got them all.
We got a Glober in
This
Discord
really
chat
makes
here.
QE's evolved sea sparrow missile argument really shine, doesn't it?
Shine. With a pencil beam
because
of directness and line of sight.
Yeah. Line of sight, 35 miles, obviously much more, but that's what they tell us. And it's a direct line of sight. And wow, surface to surface. So one ship to another ship right on the water. Where's the 1.23? Oh, but you're at 50 feet high there, right? So it would have to go through
You've never
24
seen it.
miles of water.
You haven't heard? We've never seen the geometric horizon, apparently. They're in complete denial of it now.
Of course they are. But they reference it all the time, and they measure it to get their 7/6R. So what did they measure to get their 7/6R?
They measure what? What do they measure?
Well, Andrew Thomas Young, I posted the chocolate. He said what it was based on the radius of the Earth, no more than 1.22 miles from the height.
But how are they saying that they've never seen it now? I don't understand.
Well,
what could have happened, 10th man?
This is where we have to open up all the Bellevue hospitals around the country to help these people.
Black Swan.
Share your pain, ballers.
Well, don't forget if when they're out there monitoring those ships on the horizon, they're gonna wait a minute, it's there. Oh no, it's not. Wait a minute, there it is. Oh no, it's not. Oh wait, there it is. Wait a minute, no, it's not. Because it's weather conditions, remember? So it's there and it's not. It's there and it's not.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds like efficient military action to me.
So got a new member.
We have a baller.
Hold on. Just let me shout out this member. Swanna make a bet? A new member, Penguin. Thank you very much. Swanna make a bet.
Very good name.
Also, shout out to my latest customer, Neo the One. Says, a Neo the One horizon, please, with sugar on top. Thank you. Yeah, no worries. We can massage that between the JQ horizon and the Riley horizon, I believe. No worries. Plenty of pixels left.
Oh, look at
You're gonna be making a
Professor Phil Bell doubling down on the physical horizon in chat.
Oh, Phil Bell.
It was in my chat too, not answering questions. It didn't even have to do with flat Earth versus globe Earth. It was just about I was inquiring how can light have a frequency that determines the color, yet it also has a speed, and then the Doppler effect, all these things, redshift, cause a change in color. And he just said, yeah, it changes the color. He never explain it. Asked for like 15 minutes or longer. Just
this is a bit disappointing. I suppose I'd have no credibility as a snake oil salesman flogging horizons if I didn't turn away business I can't actually tender. So, Alexander, I'm really sorry. I don't know if I'll have to sort you out with a super chat refund or how you do that. He says, I want to buy a geometric horizon. Do you have any? Yeah, that's a problem. Not actual non-physical horizons only, arbitrary ones, not geometric ones. We don't have one of those. I can't sell you one. My bad. You can't even buy one from Globers at the moment.
That's pretty good. We got a lot of non-actual ones for sale, though.
Yeah, those geometric horizons are like rocking or shit. I'm telling you, you can't buy one for love nor money.
Someone said before you read that super chat, someone said there was a baller.
Yeah, there's a baller in Discord named name of Cosmic Debris. He's off mute.
This
Cosmic
is hilarious.
Debris. Do you understand the argument?
I think Arwin wants to talk to Phil Bell, if not.
Yeah, for a second, it's just so funny because of what he said right there. Every time you have standard refraction, you see the physical horizon. Yeah, it's right. Because you know why? Because you don't have standard refraction. and therefore you don't see a physical horizon. So that's completely correct, Professor Philbell.
The circle jerk. Every time you have refraction, you see the physical horizon. Well, the refraction value utilised in standard refraction is based on the geometric horizon. 7/6R based on the geometry. Do you have that little excerpt earlier where they, 10th man, where it explains that there's some geometric considerations to be taken when you are calculating the refraction? Don't know if you can dig that out in a pinch.
Yeah, it's posted in Master B.
Any chance you could dig it out? I'm just going to read out a couple of super chats as you do. I'm going to buy you a bit of time. Thanks to people spending money. Thank you very much to all these people super chatting me. I really, really appreciate the support. So, is it Drogema? DROM Dromega. I hope I've said your name right. Thank you very much for the support. Reporting to SEC for selling fake future horizons. Yeah, got to be careful. If I'd have sold him that geometric horizon, I'd be in a lot of trouble right now. You know. But there we go. I'm not unscrupulous, so what can I say? We've also got another super chat from Swanna Make a Bet. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And Cleary, who says, "Hi Eddie Bravo. We can only pray he's watching." Thank you very much for the super chat, Cleary.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please. Perfect timing.
All right. Numerically, the radius of the Earth varies a little with latitude and direction, but a typical value is 6,378 kilometers, about 3,963 miles. If h is in meters, that makes the distance to the geometric horizon 3.57 kilometers times the square root of the height of the eye in meters, or about 1.23 miles times the square root of a eye height in feet. Andrew Thomas Young.
Perfect. It wasn't actually the one I wanted, but there we go.
I'm kind of confused about something Phil Bell said. He's saying because of the refraction that we would see the physical horizon, but aren't they all saying that we don't see it because of refraction?
Yeah, there's going to be. I said this on a couple of shows ago. I think it was on Thursday. We're going to get infighting. We're going to get infighting, Chocolate. They're going to be fighting amongst themselves about the nonsense they spew in rebuttal, and they're going to start fighting amongst themselves. That's all that can happen, because they've all got different bullshit explanations, none of which take them out of checkmate.
Yep. I mean, Professor Phil, you might want to confer with the rest of your globe-trotted friends and see what the actual argument is here, because you're all over the place right now. They're all denying the geometrical horizon is physical because of refraction. And here you are saying the exact opposite. You might want to get a grip.
So, Adam, are you there? Forgot who I was talking to here.
Yeah.
Okay, you're far better at math than I am. So, if you know the radius of something and the circumference of something, is that a mathematical equation? If you wanted to know having those two factors, you can figure out the mathematical.
Yeah, it's a geometric calculation. Yeah.
Okay. So I just read Thomas Andrew Young saying what I just asked you. Like, we know it's 3963. He puts it, we say 3959, but close enough. And at a 1 foot observer height, this is where the geometric horizon would be. That's a mathematical statement, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another saying of Thomas Andrew Young. Andrew Thomas Young, excuse me. No, the geometric horizon is not a real measurement. Its distance is the result of a real arithmetic problem, but the numbers used are rough approximations, not actual results of measurements, although they are indirectly based on real measurements. Oh boy.
So what he's saying there is yes, we do real calculations to calculate it, but it's not actually applicable to what we're looking at. Okay?
We have it, we don't have it. It's measurable, not measurable. Is that the law of non-contradiction?
It's not physically measurable because it's not there. So they just assign it based on a real calculation.
But the 3963 and the circumference is real.
Which is derived from an assumption of R. And I
But
suppose
they stand by that. They
and
stand by that.
the only measured function would be the observer height. But everything else is assumed and placed into the geometry.
But isn't R and the circumference real numbers?
It's not measured, is it? But you can certainly measure a height above the sea level, couldn't you? That's the only measurement that's been measured or verified.
Right, but if you're a baller and you're on the sphere, are they not telling you physically the sphere has a circumference of 24,903 and a radius of 3963?
Yeah, it's the assumption you're making, yeah, for you to then assume where that point would be.
So are you saying the ballers are assuming the Earth's radius, or do they know the Earth's radius?
I think that's a housekeeping question.
Well, I think
that we're still waiting.
In terms of Andrew Young's own words, you could think of it as more a thought experiment than an actual physical existence we take part in. So the idea of us being on a sphere has no physicality to base the assertion on. The extrapolation from physical geometry will give you refraction values and distances and ultimately an assumption that you're on a physical sphere. The only thing it won't do is actually demonstrate in any way, shape or form that we're on a physical sphere, because it doesn't have any physicality to the assumptions that they're making.
Well, shouldn't all the ballers know that it's all an assumption and not real, so they shouldn't be fighting for something that's not physical then?
This is their get out of jail, people like Andrew Thomas Young. So the other day someone said, oh, well, what happens when everyone finds out? Well, they go knocking on the doors of the people who are in charge that have apparently, in quotes, lied to us. And they will turn around and say, no, read what he actually says. He makes it plain. Thought experiment. Way of thinking and calculating based on assumptions of sphericity. He's making it plain. They didn't lie. They told you it was a model and you, Johnny Globehead retard, were just too stupid to listen to what the smarter people were telling you when they explained how the heliocentric model worked. So when you come here and tell us all about your model, and you go and bleat because you realise Earth is flat, that they've lied to you, they'll just laugh. The powers that should not be, the people who you think have lied to you, made it quite clear. You know, what you saw on the gobble box from NASA was just entertainment for the kids, you know, like Button Moon. But what they actually told you in the philosophical circles of the higher powers was that it was a model. They made it explicitly clear that we're not living on a physical sphere, and so does Andrew Thomas Young. Merely a thought experiment based on non-physical geometry. So, you don't have what? The actual geometry of a sphere? Well, then you don't have a sphere. It is checkmate. We're now at the point where we're revealing how they've lied to you and given themselves a nice little opportunity to declare your stupidity when you realise you're not on a physical sphere. Just a way of looking at the world, a thought experiment, a model. Now, we've been telling you that, so we've not done anything wrong, no harm, no foul. We're making our own entertainment. We all realise it on this panel. You're not going to suddenly convince us of the physicality of this thought experiment. But when you realise it, maybe you'll all shit your pants and think the Masons are coming to get you, like an orthodox or conspiracy cats. Suddenly you need sleepless nights because you think you've been lied to. No, you weren't lied to. They told you it was a model. You're just too stupid to realise that it's philosophy, not physicality. More fool you. Me, I realise that they've told us it's a model, and we don't live on a model. Been saying it for months, if not years. But Johnny Globehead doesn't realise it yet, and he's prepared to come here and tell us all about how it's the model. No, we don't live on a model. And they're making it clear that it's a model. So more fool you for believing that that model is reified into existence by way of us actually standing on a sphere. We're not. Earth is obviously and observably flat.
So Nathan, the Black Swan and Modus Tollens shattered their model.
Yeah, it made the assertion, by way of reification, untenable. A geometric impossibility now. Not something you can just believe in because you trust the R value the geometric values were all based upon. And Andrew Thomas Young again makes it clear that that isn't an actual physicality that he's utilising, merely what we've told you all along, an assumption of R. So you can't trust in it. It doesn't give you any physicality for your physical geometric horizon. It's been debunked by the Black Swan, and now your argument and position to reify this model that they told you all along was a model into existence. It's an untenable position to hold now. You don't have to like it, you fundy morons. And when you do realise it, bugger off and bleat to the people who you now think lied to you, while I sit and laugh at you while you go and moan at them and they laugh back. And say, we told you it's just philosophy. Yeah, we said it was a model. Don't you understand what a model is? Gee, idiots. Village idiots coming to moan at us because we knew it was flat all along and we never reified this model. We were generous enough to give you a way of thinking about the world. Go away and bloody think about it. Give a dog a bone and he moans about how juicy it is. Go on, sod off, peasant. That's what you'll get from the powers that should not be when you realise your stupidity and your reification in this model of a sphere Earth. It's not physical sphere. We don't have a geometric horizon. It's not physical. Earth is flat.
Yep.
Well, they should be sending you super chats for opening their eyes, but instead they come here, bury themselves in arguments that don't make sense.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the powers should not be will get porn bombed and continual reports to YouTube about how they're doing something they shouldn't be. No, what the moron and village idiot mentality will dictate them to do is go and ask them for a spoonful of more bullshit. Please, powers that should not be, we've realised it's just not the model, it's not working, it's untenable. Tell me, what is the world? And they'll spoon feed them some more nonsense. And they'll thank them for it. Won't you, village idiot globeheads? You'll thank them for the bullshit, just like you fight for it with us.
Well, they're barely even getting new handouts. They're not getting a lot of new systems handed down to them. It seems to be like, yeah, you're gonna have to figure this one out with everything we've given you so far on your own. That seems to be what's happening now, and that's why we're seeing so little new material. It's just more doublespeak now, because they got nothing left to play with.
You know what I saw as the towel throw? Go ahead, Travis.
I just said 3 words. It's damage control.
Well, no, I think I see it as throwing in the towel. When you've got the pinnacle of the argument for looming the horizon above the horizon with infinite, let's correct myself, greater than infinite over 6R, you then got Rumpus going to whatever his name is, Phil whatever. What's the guy's name again?
Andrew Thomas
Young, sorry. And so Rumpus goes to Andrew Thomas Young, and having had it declared that infinite over 6R is required in this instance, he says, no, just utilise standard refraction. You're like, what the hell uses 7 over 6R in this situation, man? And that's just him going, yeah, just assume the geometry. What's the problem? I've made that clear in my doublespeak on my website. It's all been read out today by 10th man. So, you know, just assume everything's a sphere. What's your problem? That's what his basic reply is. Tell Ruhif with his infinite over 6R that you just need standard refraction, Ruhif. Just ask Thomas Young. You just need standard refraction, mate. Oh yeah, and that would require some geometric presumptions, of course, and some straight lines being drawn as tangents.
So it would require the same geometry that gets destroyed by the Black Swan argument. It's unfortunate.
Shout out to John LeBon for shouting out me for getting a shout out from Eddie Bravo. Thanks, John LeBon.
Oh, shout out to Nathan for doing the shout out for John LeBon when we mentioned the shout outs where we got the Iron Realm Media Have No Sphere shout out in.
There's a possibility.
We've got cosmic debris here. The baller is trying to talk. Not hearing anything come out of him though.
Still be subscribed to John LeBon. He's ace. I watch a lot of John LeBon. He's very good. And his website, check it out. I've got this wrong, it's either johnlebon.com or jlb.com. I think it's actually johnlebon.com. Check him out. Gives a fair amount of free material on his website, and extremely well researched, educated guy. Very entertaining when he's not drunk. Good guy. Check out John LeBon. Shout out to Unicorn Laser Eyes, who says, Sean Hawkins to buy apparent and optical horizons. We'll see. Maybe he'll super chat me and buy a horizon. There's plenty of them available.
I touched on this earlier when I said that under the title in his work, Andrew Thomas Young called Refraction, Introduction, obviously to Refraction, the first part of his ongoing series of writings. At the bottom, after he does all his calculations of the page, says, calculating atmospheric refraction. All the discussion above deals with plane surfaces, period. But the Earth isn't flat. Well, my question is this. You took all these calculations on a flat Earth, then say the Earth isn't flat. If the Earth is curved, how can you say all these calculations are based on the plane surface if the Earth is actually a sphere?
Yeah, that's why back in the day when people used to say you're assuming F, I'd be like, no, you start with the planar geometry and then you insert the R value and turn it into spherical geometry. But you've got to start somewhere. And when you remove the presupposition of the R value from all the mathematics, same goes for the stars, right? If you remove the presupposition of R, i.e. you bend all the angles with your assumption that you're on a sphere surface, then what are you left with? Well, you're left with it being a plane. You know, you're just removing that spherical presupposition. Well, what do you're left with the default for the maths, which is it being flat. So it's not like we're assuming the flat nature when you make these measurements. That's how it is. And again, the idea of having this geometry is a thought experiment by the people who give you your terrestrial refraction, geometric base 7/6R, all this nonsense. They're telling you. They're making it plain to you. The idea of it being a sphere is a thought experiment. Third ignored super chat now from Mind Warped. Oh, my bad. So Mind Warped did a super chat while I was in probably a really heated discussion, because of which I didn't read it out, and he's given me nothing but grief in Skype since. I'm really sorry. Ben didn't need to Mind Warped. He's giving me money to point out that I'm ignoring his super chats. Thank you very much for your support.
A bit more, Nate, as well. It's Jose's as well.
Did the same in Jose's.
No, you've missed Jose's super chatted you as well. I think you've missed that. So
yeah, man, it's raining super chats today.
Yeah.
Oh, did I get one from Jose?
A little bit of admin here.
Yeah,
a little bit of admin real quick. So you started to speak about John LeBon, and I think you summoned him. He is in Discord. Over.
Oh, very nice. Good to have you here, John.
Can I speak? Am I here?
Yeah, you are. Got about 2 or 3 minutes left on the live show. Good timing.
Hey, man, congratulations on that Eddie Bravo shout-out. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
I saw the thumbnail, and I thought you were, doing some kind of parody or something, but I clicked it, and actually Eddie Bravo, not just giving you a shout-out, that's very complimentary words that he gave you.
Yeah, I pretty much put the bubble next to the word loved. That's where I put the thumbnail, literally, as he's saying that word, holding the mic tenderly. I couldn't be more pleased.
Yeah. And I just thought you were joking, but he literally says that he loves Nathan Oakley 1980. And I'm like, wow, that's high praise, man. I'm a big fan of Eddie Bravos.
I agree with the recommendation. That was, Nathan. Proper. I think everybody's commented on the. It wasn't just a shout out. It was like a go and check this guy out and take a bit of learning from the smashing he's giving to ballers.
Where is the shout out?
I've mirrored it. There's a picture of his face on it on the thumbnail on my channel. Just for context, they're talking about flat earthers, and when he says I love Nathan Oakley, he's contextualizing around the flat earthers that they love in terms of their content, as opposed to him having an actual desire in my direction. Just want to get that clear because it could have sounded that way.
Yeah, it was high praise. And I'm a big fan of Eddie Bravos. That guy has the courage to talk about the North Korea hoax. I don't know if you've seen the video, but he tries to explain to Joe Rogan that North Korea, man, might not be a real country, which to me is obvious. But to a lot of people, that's a crazy suggestion. And Eddie Bravo's like, nah, man, look into it. And I've looked into it. I'm telling you, North Korea's a hoax. So for him to... I mean, yeah, like I said, man, congrats to you for getting that shout out from Eddie Bravo. I think that's pretty cool.
I don't understand. What do you mean, hoax? Expand on it.
I don't believe North Korea's a real country, for a start. Okay, all the footage that we see is recorded in the same make-believe part of a city. Like, if you go and look for footage from North Korean, parades and military ceremonies, it's different footage from different years, but it's all the same place they're recording it. Now, how hard would it be to fake a city? Seriously. Just one fake city. It wouldn't be hard, man. It'd be easy. So I think North Korea is a completely fake country. And Kim Jong-un, or whatever this dude's name is clearly just an actor. Clearly. In fact, I'm open-minded to the idea that the same actor plays Kim Jong-un, also plays Psy from Oppa Gangnam Style. I know that sounds crazy, but we live in a crazy world.
I think you'll find it's Will Smith.
That's actually pretty funny.
It is funny. But...
Hold on, I've got 1 more minute left on the live show. I'll ask John LeBon a quick question. So, I mean, I've been to South Korea and discussed North Korea with South Koreans. So, I'm not going to say in the same way that the compartmentalization of NASA would mean that I could have the same comparison drawn, and you'd say, well, no, just because they think X, Y, and Z doesn't make it so. But by the same token, I'm cognitively struggling, having been to South Korea and talked about how the North Koreans behave and the situation between them and how they interact or don't interact, as the case may be. So I'm not going to write you off and say it's nonsense, far from it, but by the same token, it's a bit like my eyes are very wide open at the moment thinking, what? That's crazy.
Alright, so if you speak to those South Koreans, what do they know? They only know what the TV's told them. They have propaganda in their country just like we have in ours, man. They don't know anything more than you or I know. They just get TV propaganda.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the country in itself is fake. It just means that they have like a public face and they don't want anything else being leaked out there because they have a very strict mind control system.
Maybe so. I'm hoping we'll get
I'd
some more
put to you that
context.
all countries have a very strict mind control system.
Yeah,
so when I say it's a
like
hoax
that.
country, what I mean is...
So I'm really sorry to interrupt you guys. I'm just going to round out the live show. So another shout out to Retro Bill. Thank you very much indeed for smashing the super chat, Retro Bill. This conversation will continue in the after show. So check out Nathan Oakley, my second channel, where there will be an after show to follow. So just read out Retro Bill's super chat first. So he says, enjoying the show during LA rush hour traffic in my Toyota Corolla. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat, Retro Bill. As I say, stay tuned if you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to today's G+ and Discord panels for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Absolutely.
Tune into a
Shout
car.
out by Eddie
Like,
Bravo.
At some point, there were 347 people watching. When I went into the chat, there was 347. I was like, what the hell?
It was 300 as we finished there. That's wicked, that is.
It just takes one core radio guy that has connections and that has the green light to do it in the first place to just say, yeah, I'm gonna just take this frequency radio and broadcast several YouTube shows that I like over the day with permission.
I don't know,
that
but
was
that's
an
the highest I've ever
absolutely
seen.
beautiful shout out by Eddie Bravo. Like that's like he introduced me to, he didn't introduce me, but watching him on Joe Rogan's podcast was my first whiff that there were actually flat earthers out there, and it put me on my journey. So it's very amazing to see the person that started me on my journey compliment the person that took me off the fence, which is Nathan Oakley in this show and all of the panel members. It's fucking amazing, man. I was just on Jim's server the other day and they were complaining about how flat earth is growing in the UK. It's exploding. And then someone said, no, it's actually growing worldwide. And then we have Mark Sargent. I know everybody has their, personal feelings, but that was also another beautiful interview. We're getting a lot of good light right now. We got to use it. We got to be knowledgeable and ready to have this conversation now that the eyes are on us. And the black swan is a beautiful addition to this argument now that the eyes are on us.
Who's
We
us?
gotta set an example before the dark ones come and start to throw black paint and poison the well for us. So we gotta show that it's real and that we're not all dumb and shit.
Who's us? Who's us? Who's this us we're talking about?
Everybody talking.
Just 5 more
about
years,
flat Earth.
guys. Just 5 more years, and we'll prove flat Earth. Okay.
Hey Tim.
That's all we need.
Long time no see.
What's up?
Good to have you.
Yeah, I'm just listening to JLB.
You a JLB fan, are you, Tim?
What was that?
I said, are you a fan of JLB? Pro or con JLB is what I'm asking.
Oh, mate. See how
Oh, yeah,
famous
I've
your
known-
show is now, like you're getting.
I've known
groupers.
John for like 6-7 years.
Yeah, they got the same argument.
Yeah,
Stars
no.
rotating clockwise and counterclockwise. They're like brothers.
Yeah, which they do. I mean, you can't
Yeah,
refute.
that is true. They do. They do that. But that's not what I came here for. I didn't come here to debate that. I just think this whole Eddie Bravo thing is cool. But hold on. Are you saying, Nathan, that you believe North Korea is a real country? Like, I'm not going to debate you about it, but I would have thought you would be pretty hip to the fact that North Korea is a hoax, clearly.
I alluded to that. I'm very open-minded to these sorts of ideas. Now, in the same way I compared it to the compartmentalization of NASA, what you said I would agree with. I'm not going to agree with you just on principle. I have no idea. But what I'm saying is when you put an argument to me that what the South Koreans, the people I've interacted with, are exposed to in terms of this claim to be placed right next to them, I don't for one second disbelieve that you couldn't hoodwink people that easily. You could. So am I open to that idea? Yeah, I'm open to that idea. The fact that I've spoken to South Koreans who've described things to me but based on what they've seen, they also told me they had no interaction with them. So, you know, what am I going to back what I've said with? Oh, right, so you've been and seen them all penned in, have you? No, they haven't. Not from the people I've spoken to in South Korea, for certain. So, you know, am I open to it? Yeah. Do I know it's not a country? No.
Bro, there's
John,
an epic
on
video
that,
where
right, mate,
Eddie Bravo's
he-
trying to explain this to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's like, "Oh, come on, Eddie, what do you think's easier, to fake a country or to blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Well, it's easy to fake." Movies involve faking cities, and they have actors, and it's all very elaborate. What is this so difficult to believe that they could fake a few thousand people? And they show us footage of like people bowing to their great leader, as if you can't fake that. And then if you look at the footage of the war ceremonies, some of the vehicles that they have driving through are meant to be like massive rocket launchers on giant vehicles. Some of those rockets clearly don't even look straight. Like they kind of look wobbly. Like whoever was making it didn't even bother, right? And what are these meant to be? Big like modern V2 rocket launchers. Come on, man, it's a joke. And does anyone really believe this Kim Jong-un dude has nuclear bombs?
How does that make it?
He's like a he's a
One at
comedy
a time,
character,
one at a
man.
time. Adam's trying to get a question in 3 times.
Because I'm a bit confused, and I just asking for a bit of clarity. So you're not suggesting that it's geographically there, that clearly the landmass, you're still happy with that being there. Are you
I think the
suggesting that
landmass
it's
could be there for sure. That's not an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking
So it's
about
not
this
like that
representation
Australian
of a nation
bit.
with a
So-
military and their like intention with the US and all this kind of nonsense. To me, that's all just
that's what I'm
WWE
asking.
style nonsense, man.
Is with the conspiracy then that this is some Illuminati state or some Chinese front or some? What's the? Are they suggesting there are no people there and it is all staged, or there's a controlled nation that think they're North Koreans, but it isn't? Could you just expand on the detail of the conspiracy you're suggesting? Because I'm a bit unsure.
Sure.
As
So
to,
let's get one
other
thing clear from
than
the start.
North
All these
Korea
nations
doesn't
are all
exist.
controlled by the same
God.
people. All of them. All the nations controlled by the same people. That should be obvious by now, right? So what they do is they give us these fake boogeymen to make us think that, oh, there's tensions and we need our government to protect us from the boogeymen. And it's all nonsense. So Bashar al-Assad or Kim Jong-un or Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, or all these people, they're just actors, man. It's all just actors in a grand world stage. So that's the first thing you need
What's
to
the difference
understand. Now,
then
if you still
between
think
them and
that
Obama,
Russia is America's
Putin?
enemies,
I'll just 1 second, Adam. He's nearly done. Go ahead. Finish off your statement, JLB, and then I'm going to give Adam a a hypothetical
Sorry, Matt, I was
comparison.
just
Yeah,
chatting
I'll shut up. I'll shut up. I'll shut up at this one bit. So if you still believe US and Russia are enemies, then nothing I say to you is going to make sense. But once you understand that Russia and the US are controlled by the same people, now all of a sudden the idea that North Korea is a fake boogeyman, now that can make sense. But I don't know where you guys sit with the whole geopolitics hoax. Because geopolitics is also a hoax.
Just before we go on, I'll just give you a comparison, Adam, just so hopefully it metaphorically makes sense. I can't remember the Bond villain, but we'll call him Goldfinger, just for the sake of the argument. Imagine he's got a volcano, yeah, and he's got a whole army but in the volcano and all sorts of weapons in the volcano. And now take that volcano and place it arbitrarily on a piece of land on a map called whatever you like. In this case, North Korea. Now, it doesn't mean that that place on the map doesn't exist, but the idea of a volcano full of soldiers is just a story that you've filmed and presented to people on TV. Now, instead of it being Goldfinger in a volcano, let's say, according to John Le Bon's argument, it's Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il or whichever one of the day they pick, and his army and his Goldfinger-style volcano in the form of this place called North Korea. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm fine with the geopolitics. I'm fine with the subterfuge. I was more asking, let's say, for the bigger differentiation then to say, I mean, the implication of a puppet state is fine. And when we wheel them out for subterfuge, or I'm going to threaten a nuke or whatever, or try and threaten to invade South Korea to create the disaster, I'm fine with that. I'm just not sure of the differential between why it's a fake country and it's not just a puppet state. What's that differential you're making there in the claim?
All right, so you can use any terminology you like, whether you call it a puppet state or a fake country. The basic point that I'm making is there's not some threat with weapons who is in tension with the US. So whether you want to describe that as a hoax country or a puppet state, the basic point remains the same. It's not real the way it's presented on TV, is the point I make.
Well, I don't think that's part of the farce of North Korea, isn't it? I don't think anybody believes what they show is real. Certainly when he's riding on a horse.
Wrong. No, just because you're at that intellectual level where you appreciate it's bullshit. No, Adam, no. Sorry.
I'm on about the other states. I know they still let their media portray that, but I don't think any of the actual other countries think this is real. Certainly the way they deal with North Korea isn't realistic. So
it's publicly talked about, so yes.
I'm still not very clear on what John's suggesting in terms of this fake countryness. I'm not still. Are the people there? Are they just peasants? Do they just have one city for TV shows? Is the landmass occupied? Is it not? Does it have that population? Does it not? All of those things seem to be relevant to the claim you're making.
I'm not sure he spoke to. I don't know if he spoke to those things, but what I did hear him speak to was the disbelief of them having a military that we should be watching and preparing to defend against. I can get my head around that part, at least.
Yeah, and so in terms of how much of the landmass is occupied, until we go there, how can we know? So I can't sit here and say to you, I know how many people are there and where they all live. Obviously, I don't know. All I can go on is what was shown on the screen. And what I'm saying is, that's all a complete misrepresentation. It's all fictional, is what I'm saying. All of it, the whole lot. Every last bit of it.
Okay.
And Eddie Bravo says the same thing. And the relevance of all of this, to bring this all back to where we started, this is something that Eddie Bravo speaks about to Joe Rogan. And of course, Joe Rogan, the moon landing denier, then promoter, he's like, oh, come on, Eddie, blah, blah, blah. But Eddie has the courage to say these kinds of things to a pretty wide audience. I mean, Joe Rogan has a huge audience. And Eddie has the guts to be like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, look at this footage. Look into it. And I've always respected him for that fact. And also, Eddie Bravo beat a Gracie in a grappling match, which if you can beat a Gracie in grappling, you're good at what you do, you know what I mean? This guy's a real fighter. And he's a smart dude. I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, but
for this stuff that you could
There's Joe Rogan.
in the chat.
Just get that in there. Joe Rogan.
Can I ask you, John LeBon, what's your opinion of Joe Rogan as far as how he flipped when he used to be on track with the moon landing is a straight hoax, and then all of a sudden, like,
yeah, I used to be a hater. I'll answer your question, man. I used to be a hater. But I'm not a hater anymore. I'm now a big fan. In fact, when I'm at the gym, I'm just listening straight up to Joe Rogan. I don't listen to most of his interviews, only the ones based on MMA. I don't listen to his nonsense about astronauts and historians and all of this crap. He pushes this idea that ancient history goes back thousands of years. That's a hoax. Human civilization does not go back more than a few hundred years as far as I'm concerned. So all of that stuff I don't listen to. But his fighting interviews, fantastic. I love it. I used to be a Rogan hater.
I couldn't agree more. His MMA analysis is excellent. He really knows his stuff. And he's hard as nails. And he can employ a lot of the techniques himself. In other words, he's all around totally top of the game in terms of that field. As soon as it comes to him talking about the bloody moon landing or something, he hasn't got a clue. And he seems to be making, I don't know, political's the right words, but choices. Go on. Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was going to say that I agree. When he's talking about fighting, that's one thing. But then when he's talking about gravity and landing shit on Mars, like that's when he just completely loses me. Ridiculous.
Dude, not just that. He also has on people like Graham Hancock and these other so-called experts to talk about, like Göbekli Tepe. Have you guys heard of Göbekli Tepe? It's supposedly this multi-thousand-year-old place that's been excavated, and they've got all these truths about human civilization. Dude, Göbekli Tepe was supposedly discovered 30 or 40 years ago, right? And they try and pretend that it's thousands of years old. I'm saying that's all make-believe, man. There are people making money, making shit up. Same as the Great Wall of China. That's 100 years old, tops. Or all of those ancient Chinese soldiers that they find. They're just making that up. Ancient Egypt is another one. That's not thousands of years old. That's a couple hundred years, tops. This stuff is all fake.
God.
But Joe Rogan pushes it as though it's...
a little bit too
Hold
far.
on, Owen. Hold on. Go ahead, Kiwi. I had an oh my God. That sounds like an objection to me.
Well, I'm tired of listening to this crap. Hey, John LeBon, do they know
Why
about
are you always
Black
so angry,
Swan?
man? Why are you always so angry for? You need to relax, man. You need to chill out.
I got contempt for freaking clowns. Do they know about the Black Swan, perchance?
Who's they? What the hell are you talking about?
Over in North
They
Korea.
found one picture. They found one picture that they think that goes with their flat Earth.
Timmy Clown, do you know the argument
There's
brought
like
against
1,000
you?
that go against it.
Get some order.
There's like 1,000 that
the
go
argument brought
Hold
against
on.
you, sir?
Everyone calm down just a second. I don't care who the question's put to. Is it Timmy Clown, as you put it, or JLB?
Nah, let's leave GLB go. Let's go to Timmy Clown. Timmy Clown, what's the argument brought against you?
I'm just saying the Black Swan is just one image that you guys think that goes with
The
you.
argument,
but, like, I have
not the
hundreds.
bird.
What?
Oh my goodness. Are you sniffing glue this morning?
The argument. What's the
No, I
argument?
just smoked
No,
buds.
let me just explain to Timmy. I don't want this to go on forever. Sorry, Tim. The argument isn't the analogy. So this swan thing, that's just an analogy that goes along with the argument. And he's asking, do you understand the argument? Can you repeat it? That's all he's asking.
Yeah, we talked about modus tollens and modus ponens like, I don't know, 2 years ago. Now
What's
he's
the
bringing
argument?
it up.
Give him a chance. Yeah, okay. So
It's
you've
a
got
fail modus tollens argument, basically.
Oh my goodness.
let
See
me
what
try-
I'm
let me try
telling
with
you,
him.
people? Listen to this out here. These clowns don't even know what the argument is. We'll come back in about
It's hard
9
to
months.
take you seriously. You can't even admit that there's counter rotation.
We'll come back in
the
about 9 months.
It's okay.
See if you know the argument.
Just try and close that up. off.
Counter rotation.
Hold on a second, Darren. I just want to close off that conversation. You understand the logic and the name of the logic. Modus tollens, right, great. But do you actually know the argument that's formulated with modus tollens or not? If you don't, that's fine. Most people don't, so don't. It's nothing embarrassing. We're not going to got you on it.
Basically, yeah, it has to do with the geometric horizon that you guys are implying that you can only see so far, and if basically you can see further, then the globe Earth is done. Pretty much like that.
Not exactly.
No. Good try.
Not a bad attempt, but not.
Well, go ahead. It's your argument. It's your dumbass argument, dude.
How can it be dumb if you don't know what it is? Can you point out, can you state the argument and state where it's dumb for us, please?
Just go ahead and state it. It's your argument, dude.
You're the one calling it dumb,
My
and you don't
shorts.
get it. So that's the problem here. And I'm not singling you out. This isn't personal. Lots of people do the same thing. They say the argument's dumb. You ask them what the argument is, they don't know it, and you're no different.
What
So
did
I think
get?
the argument is, guys,
What did
if
I
the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3,559 miles p, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 square root inch of the observer height in feet cubed.
Pretty much what I said. I don't get it.
Other than
you
not
guys
at all.
about the geometric horizon. You should, if you see further, then it's the black swan and it debunks the globe. All this shit.
No, there's no mention of
Was
swans.
that Spurs the ball destroyer?
Yeah, it is.
Kima?
Yeah. Notice how Spurs rattles it off and knows it immediately.
Yeah, bro.
You can have Spurs condescending to you soon, Timmy. I'm telling you, it's not going to be pleasant.
I think
That's,
that'd
I
be a
mean,
good debate to listen
everybody
to,
heard what I
Spurs,
said.
and
I think. So
Yeah, we
I
heard
wasn't-
what you said. You didn't know the argument. You're a clown.
Oh, do you know any of my arguments when it comes
You don't
to
have
that?
any
Okay,
arguments,
no
Timmy.
worries. Let's try that then. Given that you interrupted Spurs halfway through the formulated argument, let's see, given that you're now protesting that you definitely knew it all along and he hasn't actually repeated it all because you interrupted him, let's see if you can give the full argument back. Go.
Oh, so I did give partial argument. So if the Earth has a radius, and he said 3,559, it's 3,959 actually. If it has that radius, then you shouldn't be able to see at a
Wrong.
certain height, 1.23 miles.
Wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
wrong.
who cares,
got it
dude?
wrong.
So you don't know it even after hearing it moments earlier.
Correct me. What am I wrong about? Correct me.
What a joke, man.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, because
Why
the
don't you
first
just
part
go
of the
on
formulation is regards to every distance to horizon measurement. That's part of the formulation, and you're missing it out. So wrong. Sorry. It's not. It's not.
And instead of correcting you, why don't you realize that you can't call an argument stupid that you don't fully understand?
Well said.
You guys have been talking about it for what, a couple months now?
Do you think you'd know it by now?
Like, because I did exactly as Spurs
Then
did,
you
it
still
doesn't
don't
mean that I don't
understand it,
understand
though.
where you're talking
A
about.
couple
the
months
geometric
now,
part.
you're only indicting yourself. You're only indicting yourself, clown.
I think the funny thing is that you guys think that everyone should take your arguments seriously after
You don't know what it is. How would you know whether or not they should take it seriously? How would you possibly know? You can't dictate to other people if they should take this argument seriously. You don't know it.
I still don't understand how I got it wrong. I said pretty much the exact same thing that you guys say.
Your compadres are
What's
taking
wrong
this
about it?
argument very seriously because they've automatically changed their arguments into our arguments.
No,
You no
because
longer
actually,
have a
Chocolate,
geometric
I have
horizon that's
2
physical that you
terabytes
fight for.
of imagery that goes against the flat Earth. That's kind of the point here. All my imagery goes against it, and you have one image.
Yeah, I'm afraid that you don't really know the argument because
You
you've
say
been
you
leaning on the
understand based
presupposition
on
that
what you
flat
know about
earthers
the
are
argument
wrong
for the
a little
past
bit.
2
No one
months.
will tell me
What is
about
the
what-
part of the argument that you disagree with? I mean, how many times do we have to ask you which part do you disagree? Brum, 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 brum.
But
No, I'm just not gonna. You guys won't tell me what I'm wrong about.
I think a person like Tim, he's only going to look into something that really would drive towards proving a clue. He wouldn't be interested in anything that's driving
You
towards the flat
understand
Earth.
that I have years of observations of my own that
Hear
all
you. No, we're just
flat
waiting
Earth.
for the argument, Timmy, not your red herring
You understand
fallacies.
that?
Do you know what the argument is brought against you?
No, we've
not
demonstrated
about
that he
against
doesn't.
me.
We know he doesn't.
It's brought against your own mentality, thinking the Earth is flat after 5 years because
I don't
of
think it
creation.
is. I know it is.
I don't care about your fail epistemology, dude.
Failed
like you can say
epistemology.
that was something,
That-
but it doesn't
somebody
actually
used
mean that.
90
you know.
fallacies in 90 minutes.
We draw a line under
Failed
this.
epistemology. You're a poster child.
Okay,
Clown.
look, it's just going to turn into 10 minutes of ad-homming each other. Then let's forget it. You know, if you don't know the argument, Tim, there's loads of videos. I've tagged it onto the end of every clip I've made in the last 2 weeks. So it's easy to find an example of this argument laid out. It's on screen most of the time people are arguing about it. It was attempted to tell you by Spurs, and you interrupted him. So what, do you think we should just allow you to interrupt things and then tell us that we should tell you again? No, let's just draw a line under it. Just go and research the argument. Once you understand it, try and debunk it. Hopefully you'll do well. So far, not so good.
Everyone has debunked it, and even plain truth that goes out there. saying that same thing.
Tim, is the horizon physical or is it non-physical? That's what we need.
Boom! Spurs straight to the point. I love you, Spurs.
Well, this is what I want Timmy to understand it. So he showed obstruction. Is that obstruction a physical, solid obstruction, or is it like a mirage apparent? How do you describe it? What is that obstruction?
No, my imagery is very, very clear. And
That's not
actually,
his question.
there is an obstruction. The water
Okay,
comes
so
up.
that obstruction, is it physical? Like a tap on wood, physical obstruction?
Why do we need to tack on physical? As if it's non-physical?
Well, if it's not physical, it's not real, is it?
Non-physical that comes up to the buildings?
Yeah, but if it's not physical, it's not real.
I'm not saying it's not physical. Why would you say the water is not physical?
Well, I'm asking you, is that water physical? Is it
the
solid
horizon.
water physical?
Horizon.
Obstructing the-
Horizon.
Physical?
The horizon line, Tim, the horizon, the obstruction, the line, is it physical? Can I measure from the observer to the horizon line a physical line, a physical measurement?
Yeah, you probably could.
Probably, but there you go. That's the argument, Tim. That's what we're asking. Is that horizon physical? Is it apparent? Can you actually make an actual measurement, or is it just an illusion?
Implicitly in the actual definition of horizon, it is the apparent line of basically the ground meeting the sky. So yes, it will be apparent. Is that an argument for flat Earth?
No. We're asking, is it physical, a real obstruction?
He's not listening. Physical.
Yes, it is a real obstruction. The water comes up and obstructs the buildings. Why would it be fake?
If it's real, that obstruction should never change. Yeah. The geometric obstruction should never change. If on one foot,
you're adding geometric to it.
Because that's what a sphere is. That's your geometry.
That's what the horizon is.
Oh, so it is physical. You're saying it's physical.
Yeah,
no,
we're saying
Black
it's
Swan.
geometric horizon.
Let's not dance around this. No, Tim, we've got this image called the Black Swan, which demonstrates unequivocally that it's not the physical edge of a sphere because it's beyond the geometric parameters. So if you're claiming it's physical, well then why was that physical obstruction be beyond where it's supposed to be?
I have a lot of imagery of refractive effects. I think
doesn't
that's
answer his question.
Who cares?
Refractive effects.
We're talking about this argument, Tim. We're not talking about your crap that you've touted around for about 18 months. So this horizon that we see in the Black Swan image that we're arguing about and you think is dumb, well, it's beyond the geometric capabilities of your sphere model based on its radius value. So definitely not the physical edge of a sphere. We can prove that by way of these Black Swan images that people keep showing us.
Yeah, the very refracted images where the arms of the actual platforms are being...
Do you know the time? Is that atmospheric refraction?
Hold on. So you're saying what explains this horizon is the horizon is refracted? Is that the succinct summary of your rebuttal?
There is obviously refraction going on, as you can see in the arms of those platforms.
That's not the argument.
Jiggly.
That's not the argument, Mr.
I know it's not
Jiggly.
the argument. I just want to summarize these points quickly. Are you saying that the horizon is refracted? Yes or no?
The horizon is refracted. In this image, the horizon is refracted indeed.
Okay. So the horizon in this image is not geometric then?
And nobody was ever saying that it was a geometric horizon.
Oh, really? You
guys
think
just
the
kind
Earth's a
of
sphere
red herring.
with sphere geometry, you fucking ass clown. That's the tenets of a
Strong
sphere
man.
religion, you fucking moron. Your assertion is we
You're
live on a
strong.
sphere with sphere geometry, you fucking clown. How thick are you? Don't you realise the tenets of your own fucking religion? Excuse me, ass clown. That's the tenets of your fucktard globe belief. What kind of fucking moron are you? Yeah, you do assert we have fucking spherical geometry. It's the tenets of your sphere belief, you clown.
Don't all the calculators use refraction? I'm just
Oh,
wondering.
refraction. So the refraction based on the geometric horizon in the calculator, you've just explained, given that this is a refracted horizon, it's not geometric. Hello? Is the argument starting to sink in? Maybe study the argument before I hand you your ass in about 20 seconds, flat, as I've just done. So it's not a geometric horizon in the image then? Your fucking model requires one, you stupid clown!
Doesn't quantifying the shape of the Earth actually require one?
No shit!
In any way?
You fucking...
Flat,
no
round,
shit!
whatever.
You quantify it as a fucking sphere! Yeah, no shit, Sherlock! You getting it, Dumbo?
Just phony outrage.
Phony outrage.
Like I've known you for years.
Your model requires... Let's say it nice and calm, with a big fat smile for the fundy moron. Your model requires a geometric horizon, Timmy. Requires. Now, as you've just made plain in the image we've got called the Black Swan, that horizon's not geometric. Do you get it? Not feigning outrage, laughing at your model failing because we don't have a geometric horizon anymore. Get it?
Are you strawmanning that geometric horizon as if that's an argument?
Sorry, is the horizon in the Black Swan geometric or not?
horizon?
Is it refracted? Because if it's refracted, Tim, it's not geometric. We just went through this. So am I strawmanning your necessity for a geometric horizon? No, that's just your model and your religion, mate. You think you're on a sphere with geometry? Not strawmanning you, that's your religion!
How is it a religion?
Because you think you're on a sphere with absolutely no proof or geometry or physicality to prove it.
I can turn that around and say that you have a flat Earth religion. You have one image after 5 years. Are you kidding
All
me?
it takes is one, clown show.
Yeah, I've only got to show it's not a physical... As admitted by you. As admitted by you, Tim, the horizon's not physical.
That's actually a logical
Yeah, it's not physical, mate.
to
It's
say
moved, hasn't it? Tim, you're not... You're flapping, mate. Can't explain. You wanted us to explain this to you. Now, most people who are ignorant will flap and flounder while we try and explain this to them. And that's what you're doing. By your own admission, the horizon in the image is not geometric. Now, if the horizon's been demonstrated to be a non-physical horizon, it doesn't suddenly snap back into being a physical horizon the next day. Once it's been demonstrated to not be physical, that's why all of your own side are telling us about its apparent horizon, right, Tim? Yeah? Well, what you mean when you say apparent, because it's redundant, is non-physical, not in a geometric location, as your model requires. So it's checkmate. We don't have a physical geometric horizon. Game over globe. There's no position or rebuttal to this argument that you don't know or understand.
Just a straw man.
Yeah, you've said that.
I never said anything about it.
You've said that. So the straw man would be that the straw man is that we need a geometric horizon for your geometric assertion of a sphere Earth. Yeah, we would. That's not a straw man. Second time I've said it.
That is a straw man. You're just
no, it's your religion. It's not a straw man.
Out the lights, party's over.
It's not a straw man. It's the basis of your religion. So if you're saying I'm straw manning you with the assertion that Earth has spherical geometry, you're denying the tenets of your own religion, you fundy moron. It's not a straw man. It's the claim that we're on a sphere.
Yes, and with the claim that we're on a flat Earth actually has geometric ramifications as well.
Who cares? That's
so
not
do you
our
guys
argument.
have any evidence for the
Who cares?
Earth being flat?
It's not our argument. Who cares? Turning this into a... that would be... What's the word? Oh, a straw man?
Straw man.
That's the word. You fucking ass clown.
I'm just saying you guys have done the flat Earth debate for 5 years.
Sorry, so you're going to offer another same straw man to burn? So... Yo, fuckwit. That's a straw man. Fuckwit. You're going to burn the same straw man that we've just pointed out's a straw man? Yeah, maybe try and focus on the argument rather than burning straw men about what the flat Earth does or doesn't do. We're attacking the geometry of a sphere and its necessity for a physical geometric horizon, which by your own admission in this Black Swan image is not geometric. So it's game over, globe. You don't have sphere geometry. Bye-bye, ball. Not a sphere Earth. A thought experiment by the people defining it.
No, you guys don't have any flat Earth geometry because we've been testing.
Yeah, it's the third time in a row, so it's time for Tim to be excluded from the conversation. If you want to burn a straw man here 3 times in a row, I'm going to kick you the fuck out. We've explained That's not the argument. It's based on your assertion of spherical geometry. No assertions of flat Earth are made. You're burning a straw man 3 times in a row. Piss off. End of your time here.
John LeBon.
Hey, Nathan. For those of us who are still kind of new to all of this, like, are you guys saying that you don't assert flat Earth now? Like, you no longer assert that?
Oh, I do.
What?
I definitely
What the
assert
hell
that.
are you talking about?
That's just this
man?
one
So
argument.
do you have flat Earth geometry or not? Because, like, I'm here to learn. I don't know. From what you were saying before, it sounds like that's not what you want to talk
John
about.
LeBon, do you know the Black
flat
Swan
Earth
argument?
is...
This is the first I've heard of it. This is the
Let's
first
nominate
The thing
somebody.
about flat Earth...
One at
is
a time.
that it's
Arwin,
flat.
fine. You can be nominated. Just Arwin. Go ahead.
Right. The thing about flat Earth is it's flat. That's the geometry.
Oh, God.
That's profound.
The argument. Reset the argument.
John
Somebody
LeBon,
else.
We're dealing with the assertion that we live on a sphere that requires geometry. And this Black Swan
So you
argument
guys are
has
more like
destroyed the
baller
notion
skeptics
that
then,
we
not
have a
flat earthers, you're more like
geometrical
baller
horizon
skeptics.
that's physical. Do you
Yes,
understand
He
the
didn't
Black
hear your
Swan
chocolate.
argument?
He didn't
it's
hear your
just-
chocolate. He was talking through you.
Yes, but I'll just answer him so it moves on, hopefully. In this regard, yeah, the argument's coming from a position of ball Earth skepticism. There's no assertions in the positive in regards to how flat the Earth is or isn't, merely how spherical it's incapable of being by way of a geometric impossibility. So, yeah, you could say this argument
that's cool
is
with
from the
me.
position of a skeptic of the Earth
Dude,
being a
baller
sphere.
skepticism is one of my favorite things. I pioneered it 5 years ago, so I'm down with that. That's sweet.
Yeah, this is a perfect argument for you. It's perfectly positioned to have absolutely no assertion. There's a logical inference you can make thereafter, after the argument, which you don't have to employ in the slightest, but you could certainly employ this argument as a ball Earth skeptic to devastating effect. There is no rebuttal. Once the geometry and its physical restraints have been breached, you can't then unbreach them. It undoes the sphere geometry. There's no other way to put it.
Have you actually heard it?
That's good news to me. How about the plane problem, though? Have we solved the plane problem yet?
Oh, jeez.
No,
man.
wait a second. Can we
go.
hear the argument, please, by the conceiver, since we have his presence here?
Go ahead, QE. Can you
Do
repeat
you mean
Moses
me?
Tolan's argument just so John LeBon can hear it in full? Timmy didn't get the full rendition, so hopefully John LeBon will. So please don't anybody interrupt him. Go ahead, QE.
Yes, it's if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Q. Not Q, because we have the Black Swan with the horizon distance greater than 9.41 miles, therefore not P, i.e., the Earth is not a sphere. End of argument.
Do you mean the Earth is not a sphere with the circumference they give us, though?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can you
And what's
please
this Black
also just
Swan?
run
Is it like
through
in...
the
Hold on,
observer
just
height
let John LeBon,
and the
just
distance?
let John respond. Hold on, everybody. Go ahead, John. The other John LeBon, rather.
So like this Black Swan, though, like, again, I'm not joking you, I'm serious. This is the first I've heard of it. There's an image that you guys have that something is too far away in the distance, is the thrust of all of this.
Can someone post it in Discord?
While someone's doing that, I'll verbally explain. No, there's loads of them, like literally tons and tons of them. There's just one specific example that's been singled out because it has 2 oil platforms that give you very specific marcations for distance, and the horizon is beyond those distances. So with that particular image, it's very cut and dry in terms of where the horizon is. It's obvious, you can see it, and it's beyond the oil platforms at their physically marked distances. So you can say with absolute certitude the horizon is, fact, beyond this distance, because it is. However, there are examples where people have got other landmarks that are all on the horizon that are still black swans, i.e. the horizon distance measurement would be much greater than the observer's 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So you can still have other, and there is loads, of what you would call a black swan. But as I say, the one that you'll get posted in the Discord server just happens to have a very nicely laid out marks for 6 miles, 9 miles, and then the horizon beyond that.
If I could just add...
Yeah, I dig it. So are you guys open to the idea that this just shows that the Earth might be bigger than we're told? Like, is that a possibility as well? Or have you just
There are no
Hold on.
take-backs, John LeBon.
Let me just answer him. Yes, if you wanted to infer that the physical edge of the sphere that they assert at the radius value they give has grown on a given day to a different physical horizon that would be extrapolatable as spherical at a larger rate, you could, if you chose to, make that, I'll be frank, absurd assertion. Because it would require the physicality based on a physical horizon changing. I.e., one day you've got a radius of this value, the next day you've got a radius value that's greater, i.e. in this image. So you could infer that, however it's non sequitur. If the horizon is moving on a given day, it's clearly not physical.
And have you guys like ruled out the possibility that light is bending? Like, can light bend over distances? Do you think?
Yes, it can.
Could I say something on it, Nathan?
So how come this black swan couldn't be explained by that?
Well, no. When you look at what refraction actually is in their assertion of a sphere, so I'll address from the point of view that you don't take their model and that their model has assertions, both. First being the spherical heliocentric model with its 3959 radius. When you utilise their geometry, they extrapolate out based on the physical horizon. They will call that their geometric horizon, derived from R in the first instance with physicality. They then take that R and mathematically give you a terrestrial refraction value of 7/6R. Now that's essentially taking the physical geometry you don't have in the horizon anymore to give you what they're calling redundantly an apparent horizon. So you're utilising physical geometry to give you a non-physical horizon. That leaves you with two horizons, a geometric one to base the maths on, and the one they claim they see, which is apparent. And we don't have two horizons. Then you can extrapolate out, as you have done, which is to say that it's a physically larger sphere. And light is just merely bending it to seem like it's a much larger sphere at any radius it could be. The problem with that assertion is in terms of the geometry, the physicality of the 3959 radius value sphere, that gives them other parameters to wrap around that sphere in terms of the celestial bodies and the equator, various other extrapolations that are essentially set in stone. So John said at the beginning, just before I took up the reins, there are no takebacks. In other words, the radius that they assert is set in stone for it to work with the things that they assert about the sphere, like the celestial bodies. Hope that's concise enough.
Okay, that's short. Very detailed, and I appreciate it. But just getting back to the question, though, so you're saying that light can bend over distances, or it can't?
Absolutely. You can change the trajectory of light. That is, by definition, what refraction is. Now, when you actually look at the studies that have been done on refraction, it's always described the same way in our atmosphere. Negligible. Now, the assertion based on spherical geometry...
Which studies are they? I'll check them out. This is my favourite thing to do, is to studies and read them. So do you know which studies in particular say that?
Sure, you can dig out any of the ones that are given to you off the website that Mick West refers to incorrectly when he's citing 7/6R, i.e. geometric-based refraction. His links take you to the actual studies done in atmosphere. So I'll dig those out. To be honest, I don't have a shortlist, but I can get one from Anthony Riley, who does have a short list of links for all the studies that are done in terms of atmospheric refraction. I'll dig them out and pass them on to you somehow.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. That'd be cool. Because, like, if you can show that refraction is negligible, well, that's a killer blow. But my understanding is that refraction can be quite significant. So I could be wrong. This is very important.
John, do you know the five types? Do you know the 5 types of? Hold on a second. Do you know the 5 types of atmospheric refraction?
Whose 5 types? I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh my God!
No, just tell him.
I'm not telling him. He said he's been interested in refraction for how many years now?
I didn't say anything of the sort. What are you talking about?
Oh, you
just make shit up. But you just get angry and make shit up.
Right. We heard you.
What did you hear?
Okay, I'll get to the point of this before it turns into an argument about nothing. So, in terms of how atmospheric refraction is actually detailed, there are 5 different effects that they describe. Now, all of those descriptions will never be able to be quantified in terms of moving the horizon itself. So they're always explaining how things move with respect to the horizon. And those explanations are detailed based on an assumption of a physical geometric horizon. So all of the maths that they draw tangent lines to this physical edge for boats to go over and to bend at altitude when you raise up to see the blue marble, allegedly. All those geometric mathematics are the starting point. So when they start refracting things, as I said before, they're going to use geometric values of physicality they don't have. But the horizon and its refractive whatevers is kind of non sequitur, because when you read about what refraction's actually doing and how it's moving objects, when it's detailed with respect to the horizon, it's non sequitur to move the horizon with respect to the horizon. It suddenly makes no sense. And when the rebuttals that we've had do exactly that, i.e. loom, that's the most closest resembling this in terms of how to do it, when they loom an effect of refraction, the horizon with respect to the horizon, non sequitur, you end up with two horizons. So you end up with the physical geometric horizon and a loomed non-physical quote unquote apparent horizon. So you end up with this necessity for two when you use this incorrect assertion of refraction when detailing the horizon itself. Again, not short but hopefully concise.
May I, Nathan?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I appreciate you being calm with me,
on.
because I came asking questions that obviously you covered before, so I don't mean you guys repeat yourselves. But hey, just quickly, if I decided I wanted to argue for flat Earth, and I had people saying to me, but what about the flights? What is the most concise way to explain it to them? Like
Go back to
make them
2015. These are 2015 arguments, man.
Yeah, okay, that's great. But what if they say to me, yeah, but how about the flights? What would I say to them? What's the
I'll
easiest
try.
way to
I'll play along. Well, you've got a model, right, JLB? JLB's model?
Yeah, we can talk about that if you like, but I'm still
how does it work on your
focused
model?
whatever you guys are presenting.
Well, I don't have a model. I'm glad you asked. I don't have one. I've never made a map. I'm not a cartographer. None of those things are relevant to me or my existence.
That's good. I like that. I think I get where you're coming from now, Nathan. Like you're more of a skeptic, and I like that. But I think some of the people here are like serious flat earthers, and I'm like, if I wanted to be one, and I do because there's money in it, what is the best way to explain the flights? What's the best way?
Well, that's where I started. I'll try again. You have a model though, don't you? How does it work on your model?
Nah, people have to pay good money for that, Nathan. I don't give
Well, there you go.
I mean, so I want to learn the flat Earth.
Get this shitbag nonsense out of here.
Oh, come on.
Can I say something, Nathan?
You can. I'm going to round out the show in about 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Concerning what he was saying, what I think is going on here is John LeBon is making what I call the Walter Bislin fallacy, where he's thinking about a flat Earth, but he's not adding in refraction of light. Now, the problem is that there is some evidence that light will bend down in a denser medium. Now, we have denser air often close to the Earth's surface. So there is evidence that light can bend down through that. But the problem is that there is no there is no evidence to support the geometry of a sphere Earth with a 3,959 mile radius. But what we do see is objects way beyond that geometry would allow, big objects, with sometimes missing the bottoms of them. And the reason is the light is being bent down before it hits the bottom of them objects. So what's happening is that they are thinking that it's not a flat Earth because they have refraction. But they're forgetting that refraction would still be on a flat Earth.
He doesn't care about that. He wants to know about flights.
I'll tell him about that if he wants to.
No, I'd like to remind them of the show, how we started when we quoted Andrew Thomas Young quoting Talmud, 1932. When abnormal refraction increases, the apparent elevation of distant objects, keyword is objects, often lifting above the horizon. This would mean geometric horizon, things normally that are below it. This process is described as looming. So with the modus tollens saying that every horizon distant measurement must be, it's talking about a geometric horizon, physical, tied to the radius of the Earth of 3959. So what John LeBon is missing is that if anything does loom, it's objects over a physical sphere geometric horizon. And this is where the modus tollens is very strong because it's every horizon distance measurement has to match the radius, and it doesn't.
Andrew Thomas Young also states that when in that terrestrial refraction, that causes a major problem for geodetic surveyors, because they're seeing everything in the horizontal flat plane when they're expecting to see everything in a sphere, in a sphere geometry. So what they have to do is turn everything into a Cartesian reference system, which means everything is treated as flat and motionless within.
Well,
Brian,
I read that
wait
already.
a second. Who are you guys
I read
talking
that one
to?
already too.
Yeah,
Who are you guys talking to?
That's talking to
said-
John
Mike
LeBon.
working.
They're talking to John. Wait, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. You're talking to John LeBon, are you not? Or trying to?
Yes, Nathan, I am.
John LeBon's not concerned with that. He's concerned with flights, Brian.
Okay, I tell
Well, I'm
him about
concerned
flight
with the refraction. I've been told that studies say it's negligible, which I'm open-minded to. So I want to check out these studies. That's my favorite thing. But with the flights, it's just that the flights do exist. So how do you guys explain that? I just want to know, so I can tell other people. Nice and concise, to the point. No word salad. Let's just cut to the chase.
What flights are you talking about, John LeBon?
Is anybody going to
sent
attempt
you
to
a
answer
DM.
him? Is everyone going to obfuscate the question?
I've sent him a DM with a flights video.
Sorry, Nathan, I didn't hear that.
I'm waiting for somebody to attempt to answer him, or I will.
I'll have a go, Nate, if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, they do exist, John. And no, I don't have an explanation that matches any maps that anybody's shown me. But I don't have a map of my own put together that is relevant to me to disprove the model that is given to me. That falls
That is a
apart
terrific answer.
as
That's
demonstrated
honest,
with the black
and I
swan,
agree
so
with it.
I'm
That's a good
happy that
answer, man.
that's wrong.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
What flights are you talking about, John LeBon? Is it just flights
The
in
ones
general?
where you jump in a plane and you go from one continent to another. Because for a long time, people were saying they didn't exist. And I was open-minded to that. But I think we can all agree now the flights do exist. I think we've all moved beyond the denial.
Second, John LeBon.
Try to just let one another
Arwen,
finish
one
before we
second. Let me
start.
speak to John LeBon a second. What is your argument, John LeBon, concerning flat Earth?
I don't have an argument. I don't have an argument.
you asked
I
a
think
question
tonight's been
about
very productive. I appreciate it. I like Nathan
He
Oakley's
doesn't have
style.
an argument.
Hang on, well, you're speaking
There
to
you
me. You asked for an explanation on how flights work on a flat Earth, did you not? Or is that incorrect?
Well, if someone says to me, how could the Earth be flat with the flights exist? What is the concise way to explain it to me, is what I was asking. Because you guys will know
how
better
could
than me. You've been talking about it for 5 years.
Say that question again. Sorry, say that again. How could the Earth be flat if
Well,
what?
if someone says to me, what do I do? And I say, I interview lots of people and they're very controversial topics. They say to me, oh, are you a flat earther? And I'm like, well, no, but I interview them. And some of them are very interesting. And they'll say to me, how do they explain the flights?
what has that
And I'm
got to do
saying
with
to
the question I asked
you,
you?
how do you explain it?
Yeah, explain what?
Because back
You're
when I
not
was doing
being-
my
you're not being
interviews, sorry to
concise.
interrupt you, back when I was doing my interviews, they just
You're
denied
not
the
being
flights.
concise, so tell me about
But now they can't
Being
deny the
concise in your
flights.
question.
So how do you explain them?
Brian,
I
just,
can't
you've
hear
got to
a
let him.
thing.
Just let him finish. You're hearing the bit you want to respond to, and then not letting him finish. So it's just both of you talking at the same time.
Okay, Nathan. Okay, John, say it to me again.
All right, so when I was interviewing flat earthers in 2015, the flights were just denied. People were saying they didn't exist, okay? And at the time, I was very open-minded to that. But I think since then, most of us agree. So now I want to know, what is the explanation for that? What's the concise, no-word salad explanation for that?
Why don't you get specific?
Yeah, I
What
don't know what
flights?
the question is.
Hold on, QE. Go on, Brian.
So I don't know what the question is. Are you asking, like, what is your actual question? How do flights work on flat Earth? Is that what you're asking?
Well, you could frame it that way if you want, but I'm just more interested in your take.
It's your
like,
question. I
How
don't
do
want to
those
frame it
flights
any
make
way other
sense
than the
in
way
your
you're
world?
asking it. I want you to ask me the question.
Brian, you can't let him get 2 words out. He's saying if you want to frame
So, like,
it that way.
if you say to me that you're not presenting a map, I'm like, that's cool. I respect that. But when someone says to me, oh no, the Earth is flat, okay, cool. Now I want to know those flights. That's all I'm asking.
I'll tell you what
So I can
flights
pass it
do,
on
if
to
you
other
want to know.
people.
You want to know what they do. Everything is worked off a grid map. So a plane is going from one square of that grid to the next square of that grid to the next square of that grid. So that's how it finds out where it's going, from square to square to square. And all those squares are Cartesian reference systems. So they're all based on a flat motionless plane of land. So that's how a flight gets from A to B. Now, if you're asking how they fly, that's a different thing. But just the route, that's how they do it. So can I show you a map based on all those squares? I can show you something maybe, but I don't know.
Well, you sound like a nice guy. I hope you don't do what Tiger Dan, because he tried to map all of these flights on a flat Earth, and he went mad. He went completely bonkers. Then he started releasing videos about it, and then people came out and said he'd been possessed by the devil.
Who cares?
That's
What
the
is your?
old
Can
school
you
one.
write the argument? Hold on a second. Can you write the argument in live stream, because I thought it was so ambiguous as not to have. It wasn't even an argument. Please write it.
Which argument are you talking about? I'm just here alone.
God.
Planes and flat Earth. Can you formulate it when you said you can frame it that way? How would you frame it to make it into a logical argument, even if it's in the third person? So the argument that was put to you was.
Well, it's not so much an argument. It's more because here's what's been happening, man. I'm hearing a conference where people have online businesses, right? And people say, well, when I say, well, I have a podcast, I interview people, and as soon as I say controversial, 5 times out of 10, maybe more, it's, oh, are you a flat earth? And my response is no, but I interview them, and some of them are very intelligent or not. And they come back to me with either the stars or the plane. Now, I can't give them a convincing answer, but maybe you guys can. That's what I was hoping. But so far, let's be honest, nothing terribly compelling. Let's be frank.
Black Swan.
Really?
Hold on, everyone, hold on.
1 second, Aaron.
What we've got from, hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. What we've heard from you in terms of your expansion of this argument is they give you, quote, the stars or the planes. That's not really an expansion on formulating. If someone just says to me, well, the stars and the planes, I'd say to them, what is your argument? And that's kind of what we're asking of you.
Yeah,
how is this an argument?
That's fair enough. And you know, the regular people, they don't arguments. They're trying to understand, well, how can you fly from Australia to South America? And again, in 2015, the answer was, well, you can't. It doesn't exist. But I think we've moved beyond. I hope we've moved beyond that now.
You have.
We accept.
Okay, so the argument is, how can you fly from Australia to South America on a flat plane? Is that your question?
Yeah, but that question is only to people asserting a flat plane, which I don't think you are, which is fair enough. Like you don't
I do
have
assert a flat plane.
that, but
I definitely assert a flat plane. Absolutely, unequivocally, the Earth is obviously and observably flat. Let's get that out of the way. But what's your argument in regards to the planes? Is it, how does this flight exist on a flat plane? I'm leading you, but not too much. I want to hear you phrase it.
If given the opportunity,
Okay, so
I'd like to have a go what I've heard.
yeah, so like
I know the flight he's talking about. I always had him.
Okay, go ahead, John.
well, in particular, I'm interested in the fact that like you can fly, for instance, from Australia to Thailand, right? Which I've done, and you can fly from Africa to Australia, which I've done. And there's lots of flights out there that I haven't taken that it does seem like they exist. Now, if they exist, can they all exist harmoniously on a flat plane? Maybe they can. I'm open-minded.
Yes.
Are you referencing? Sorry, Nathan. Are you referencing Sydney to Santiago?
That's another one, I guess, if that one exists. I mean, Australia to South America, I think whether it's to Argentina or to Chile or to Peru. So I'm not sure the exact flight, so don't try and trip me up on that. I just mean, if these...
I could give you something on that. If not, then I'll be quiet. I'm okay.
No, like, I'm just asking how do these flights exist harmoniously if they're all limited to below the speed of sound, which maybe they're not. That's a possibility. Like, I'm here to listen
why
to
would it make
possibilities.
any less sense for flights to be able to work on a flat plane as opposed to a spinning ball?
Because the parts of the Earth, wherever they are, they all have relative directions from one another. So whether you want to use terms like south or north or east or west, these places do have a relative direction to one another. So the length of time it takes to fly from one place to another, I would suggest, has some relation to the distance. So once we start talking about these things, then some flights no longer seem to make sense to me, potentially, if the Earth is flat.
God, why do you keep interrupting him, Brian?
I know what he's asking, Nathan. He wants.
I know, but we've got Brian. There's an audience. Yeah, just because you know what he's about to say doesn't mean you need to interrupt it so that no one else can get to hear it. Please let people finish their statements, even if you know what's coming next. Thanks.
Okay, sorry.
And you've got to remember too, the people who I'm talking to, they're not going to sit here and listen to a 5-minute, verbose explanation of, well, this and this. It's like, well, what's the simple? Have a simple to shut up the plain argument. That might be a bit too simple. We need somewhere in between 2 words and 500. Is there an explanation?
Okay.
That now, Nathan?
Yes, go ahead, John. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. Sorry for earlier on. Two questions. Number one, do airplanes account for drop in curvature? And number two, can you get a direct flight from Sydney to Rio?
I will answer your questions. I don't know if you can get a direct flight from Sydney to Rio. Last I heard, there was from Sydney to somewhere in South America, but my understanding is which country had changed. So don't quote me. I don't know which. But I'm pretty sure most people today agree that those flights do exist.
Yeah,
now, as for the drop, as for the whole, the planes account for curvature, I don't know. If someone says to me, oh, I'm a pilot, I believe them. How the hell would I know?
Okay, sorry, I'll just repeat Brian's question. So I think we've dealt with the first part. So Sydney to Rio, don't know, correct?
Sydney to Rio or Sydney to Peru or Chile, I don't know the specific city they go. No.
Okay, so that was part one. Part two, do the planes account for drop?
I also don't know. If a pilot says they do, I believe him. If I say they don't.
I have a question or a couple of
hold
questions.
on, Paul. Hold on. Go ahead, Brian. You've got both answers.
Yeah. Okay. See, I know the flight that he's speaking about, as we all know, the Sydney to Santiago. But the problem with that is this. The Sydney to Santiago flight takes something like around 15 hours or something like that. Now, that's not even in the top 10 supposed longest flights in the world. Okay? Now, yet they still have to use a particular special paint on the plane that they fly to Sydney to Santiago with. And the pilots have to be particularly trained to do that, from what I could find out. Now, the thing about that is this. I tried to find a flight from Sydney to Rio, which would be just slightly longer than Sydney to Santiago, but it still wouldn't be one of the longest flights in the world. It might reach the second longest or something like that, or sorry, the 8th longest. But there's 10 of the top longest flights in the world. At the moment, it's I think it's Sydney to New York. I think is the longest one at the moment, and the Sydney to London is in the pipeline very soon, and that will take over. But the thing about it is that on a globe, like the Sydney to Santiago flight should never have been an issue. Yes, it wasn't something that was happening all the time. It only happened supposedly in recent years. Now, I think your man Max Eugen. Now he's not really a good source. But he took the flight, and he said he could show that the compasses he was using were showing the flight was going a different direction from what they were showing. Now, the whole thing about the Sydney Santiago thing is that there was also some evidence that they're using trade winds up high to get there to add an extra 300 or 400 miles an hour onto their 550 miles an hour normal speed, airspeed.
This all seems to be ignoring John's point. You're not addressing John's point, I don't think. You're just giving mitigation for the flight times. You're not addressing what he's saying.
Hold on. Let me just back Adam up, because Adam's given an answer. Adam was already, I would say, spoken for me in terms of the response he gave him, which is essentially, we have no model to give a representation of how these flights should or shouldn't work. I would expand on that slightly and say all the representations we're given are from people who are cartographers to the elite, if you want to oversimplify it just for the sake of speed. So we don't have an explanation, we don't have a model, and the models we are offered or foisted upon us in the form of azimuthal equidistant projections are global projections to begin with. So what Adam has already said is we don't have an answer for this because we don't ascribe ourselves to any models. But
and can I say that I like that? I like that because I have this suspicion that the people who made... So I'll shut up real quick. I have a suspicion that people who helped to propagate Flat Earth 2014-15 and their AE map was almost like a red herring. And so if they can get people defending a fake map, it can actually stifle the progress of what you guys are doing. So if you guys have now reached a point where you're like, we're not asserting an AE map or anything like that, Now you're talking my language. See, so based on this conversation tonight, I like what I'm hearing a lot better than I like what I was hearing a year or two ago.
Perfect.
Can I just say that with the most respect?
Let me just add something to that. Hold on. So this is why I've defended John Le Bon, because as I've understood it, that is your position anyway. Now, when you say flat Earth and flat Earthers, I know who you, specifically you, are talking about, and I am not one of them. Now, those people who assert models and the pseudoscience that goes along with gyroscopes as scientific proof of Earth being flat and all this kind of crap, nobody here, there might be one or two exceptions in the Discord server, but for the majority of my panel on the G Plus side, none of us ascribe ourselves to a map or a model, especially not one that's offered up as, you said a red herring, I would call it a straw man. They give you a straw man for them to burn. So, yeah, and I would agree with you. What is flat earthism? As mainstreamers presented it to be burned, we're not that. Definitely not.
Yeah, well, you've got a new fan. You can thank Eddie Bravo. He got me here. He got me here.
Well, can I get my final point out, just to John, before we carry on?
I got a point too after Adam.
Okay, fine.
Nathan, before you close out.
Adam, then QE, but with John responding at least in between. Go ahead, Adam.
And I'm not talking to you. My point, what I thought John was trying to say, is how would a flat earther broach the situation he was saying with regards to the simple fact the flight times are there. We discussed the maps, but fundamentally the logic of that argument is that it must be a ball because a flat earther can't present a map that would correspond to the flight times based on our assumptions of all what then Brian kind of went into. That would seem to be trying to prove a negative sort of situation from the flat earther's point of view, that you're given a small misnomer and asked to disprove this in a particular way, which is to provide a map, which to me isn't necessary to disprove the ball. Thank you.
Okay, can I just get a response?
And I like that because it sounds like you're more what I would call a baller skeptic, which is what I've been since 2015.
Yeah, it's still flat though.
Okay, QE, go ahead.
But when you're talking in that context, you can't try to prove any flatness with that. It's sufficient if you're talking in that instance to just be able to disregard the ball. I'm done.
Thanks. QE, what
Yes,
do you want to add?
I'd like to get back to the question. Yes, I'd like to get back to the question that was asked to John Le Bon about, do pilots account for drop? And he said, well, he doesn't know. He had just asked pilot and believed them. John Le Bon, have you taken a flight greater than 1,000 miles?
I would guess so. Yeah. I'm in Thailand as we speak, brother. Chiang Mai, beautiful city. If you get a chance, come check it out. Very nice.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. How many feet vertical drop should there be between a flight from point A to point B at 1,000 miles?
You mean a vertical drop from a flat plane drawn where the plane, Melbourne, for instance?
The vertical drop based on the sphere.
Yeah, but like you mean a drop as in compared to if you just drew a straight line from the departure point?
Yes, from a tangent.
I haven't sat down and done the maths. I don't know.
It's
why do you ask?
Well, because it's a pretty big number. It's about 677,424 feet.
Okay, and what is what follows from this? Help me out here.
What follows from this is you wouldn't have to ask a pilot. If you're on the plane, you would kind of notice the drop along the trip.
Why would you notice it? If you're just flying at a certain distance above the Earth, why would you notice?
Well, that certain distance above the Earth would continue to fall away from you.
If the plane was pointing up towards space, but why do you assume that?
No, the plane's not pointing up towards space, John Le Bon. It's taking off on a tangent on a runway. And as you fly at a certain height, let's say 30,000 feet, and you continue to fly at a certain miles per hour, that ground underneath you drops away from you. Follow?
No, I don't think that's how it works, man. Like, I'm not really
Oh, it
sure that you've
doesn't.
thought this through.
Oh, I haven't, huh? So it doesn't. So you're not flying over top a sphere with a vertical drop, is what you're saying.
I don't think planes fly in this straight line that you imagine.
Can I give an example?
Pointing
Sorry to
straight
interrupt.
or something. I don't know where you got that idea.
Maybe if I can give you an example.
Yeah, the
John
plane
LeBon.
has to fly around a circle. That's the thing,
Hold on.
which means
Just
it
one
has to
second.
be going down to.
1 second. So, as you stand from your position on the ground, let's say for the sake of this argument, you're on the runway. You just happen to be looking out across with a pair of binoculars or a very good telescope. In the assertion of a sphere, the buildings that are very far away have dropped. Or if you're on a sphere, right? They've fallen away from you around the edge of the sphere that it's asserted to be. Do you follow that so far?
Yeah, I get that idea, for sure.
Right, so the further you go, the more those buildings will have dropped away from you. If you get on a plane on that runway and head towards those buildings, the ground below you's dropping because the buildings that are attached to it, based on the premise that you understand that they've dropped away from you from your point of view on the runway, well, the plane, as it travels out, as it was described to you at a tangent to the runway, well, it's got to account for that ground dropping away from you, like the buildings are, seeming to drop away from you. Well, then the plane would have to drop as the ground below it.
Yeah, and that's
drops.
the issue I have. Sorry, I interrupted you. I apologise. You go. You finish now.
No, that was it. That was the end of the statement. The plane would have to drop in the same way. If you're saying the buildings are dropping away from you because they're on a sphere, well, as the plane takes off, it too must drop around it.
Yeah, so that's the issue I have, this idea of a tangent. So now we're talking about mathematics and abstract. I think planes fly hypothetical straight lines. The way that a plane stays in the air is through lift, you see. And so at different speeds, it'll generate different amounts of. I don't think they point at some place in the distance and just point the plane there. I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah,
so I don't know who told anybody that's how planes work.
They fly level, John LeBon.
Well, slightly.
Yeah, and how do they maintain that level? Do you think they just point at some place in the distance?
Let's just answer his straw
But it
man.
goes to the heart of your question. You seem to imagine that they just point at something.
Okay, I understand that. So yeah, so they've got a gyroscope in the plane, and that gives them a fixed reference, a flat reference, and then they nose up about 2 degrees to give them the maximum amount of efficient lift, and then they continue based on their gyroscope, flat, level, basically level, 2 degrees up from level, give or take.
They actually hold.
Yeah, I think it depends on the plane and the angle of attack.
Yeah, sure, but essentially
what they call angles of attacks or something like this.
Sure,
all the pilot's trying to do is maintain. So whether he's on a ball or an inverted ball, all they're doing is maintaining altitude. I don't think pointing thing in the.
How can they maintain?
Where do people get that idea
from? John LeBon, how can they maintain a level, flat altitude with the ground falling away from them over 1,000 miles? They have to negotiate 128.3 miles of vertical drop, John LeBon.
But again, that's dropped from some hypothetical abstract model that you're making up.
Here we go. Correct.
I don't know where you get this idea from that planes fly.
That's correct. That's
laser
correct.
dart
Hold
at
on.
the distance.
John, you're correct. So, John LeBon, you are correct. Yes, based on a hypothetical idea that the ground in the distance has fallen away from me, because it's spherical, well then the plane has to negotiate that ground falling away from it as it flies. Now, in order to do so, it would have to drop in elevation to account for the ground falling away from it. But in reality, they maintain level flight, in fact, slightly nose up.
So the hypothetical that I'm talking about is this idea that the plane flies in a straight line, which is what this whole suggestion seems to be premised on.
Hypothetical you're talking
I don't know where people
about
get
is
this
the
idea
globe model.
It's the model of a globe with the ground falling away from you that's hypothetical. The planes definitely fly level.
Yeah, I think the planes do. I mean, they maintain altitude.
That's
I would
that's
imagine.
why the
I haven't
idea
been in
is
the
so
cockpit
ludicrous to
and
you,
seen the-
because that's not what happens in reality. That's why the idea is ridiculous, because planes don't do that. Planes climb to about 30,000 feet and fly level. It's not maintaining a drop over a ball, following the same curve that it would have to follow, the same reason we're told boats are going over the curve. Planes would have to follow the same curve, right? Otherwise, the altitude would just increase infinitely. Right?
So they're maintaining altitude. I think we agree on that part. The question is,
Right,
are they
so
maintaining altitude
the
because they're
problem
flying in a
is-
straight line, or are they just maintaining altitude?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Do
Well,
they drop or don't they drop? And if you're dropping,
Like, are you saying that? Sorry, you go.
I was just saying, if they drop in altitude, you'd notice it, especially when it's so much of it, over 1,000 miles. You'd notice that you'd have to drop. This exponentially increasing curve that you see when you're looking out, seeing the buildings fall away from you. Well, the plane's got to negotiate that ground falling away from it, as opposed to not dropping and maintaining level flight. Well, it's not level to a ball because that's descending around an edge, i.e. dropping.
But then doesn't descending imply that they're losing altitude? The whole point is to agree that they maintain altitude.
Correct.
So
So
from what
they're
you
not.
guys are saying, it sounds like you're suggesting that, like, let's say hypothetically it is a ball, because that's what you find. Hypothetically, are you saying that a plane could not maintain altitude around?
Well, it would have to, it
is
would
that what
have
you
to
guys are
drop.
suggesting?
No, it would have to scrub off altitude as the ground beneath it fell away from it. But it doesn't do that.
So could it maintain altitude or not?
If it
Like,
no,
could
it
a
would have
plane
to,
on a hypothetical
I've just
ball
answered
maintain
you.
altitude? I don't see
try,
why not.
Try and listen to my answer. No, it would have to descend. If the ground's descending to maintain level flight, it would have to, matter of fact, descend, drop. The earth beneath it's dropping, so to maintain level flight on a ball, it would have to descend around that ball. In reality, planes maintain level flight, slightly nose up.
Okay, so it maintains altitude, but you're saying that it has to descend at the same time. So those two things seem like a contradiction. It either maintains altitude or it doesn't.
Dude, are you serious, man?
No, tell him what he said is correct.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. Yes, there is a contradiction. You can't both maintain level flight and descend around a ball. That's correct. It's a contradiction.
So do you think in a hypothetical a plane could maintain altitude around the ball, or that?
If it descended,
Yeah.
if it descended, which planes do not?
But descending like that, now it's not maintaining altitude. And I thought we already agreed that planes do maintain altitude.
Maintaining altitude on a ball, it would have to descend. Planes do not descend, therefore they're not maintaining level flight on a ball.
What if a plane is descending at the same rate as the drop?
Then it'd be descending at the same rate as the drop, ergo descending, which
And not
planes
maintaining.
aren't. That's the point. We concluded this because I've
John LeBon,
dragged out the show longer than I was hoping. Far longer.
John LeBon, what's the problem with a level surface and a level plane flying over it? Why do you keep bringing forth this argument of, or this question of, could it theoretically happen on a ball? It already happens, and we're already telling you that it would have to descend if the ball is curving downward. So it can't fly level with it unless it descends to maintain the same altitude going around the ball. You don't need that if it's flat. You just have to fly across it at the same altitude.
Yeah, and so that's why when you start saying descend, it's like, well, you're contradicting. Does it maintain altitude or not?
It
And
does.
we already agreed that it does.
So
So to then say, but it can't maintain altitude, well, now that's begging the question. Now you're saying, oh, it can't.
That's because it doesn't in real life, man.
It doesn't
He's a
descend.
retard, man. He's retarded.
It's not retarded. He's just trying to wrap his head around it. Give him a break.
No,
he's
Nah, man. You've been in this argument how long? You don't understand the aspect of a plane flying around a ball. I don't believe that, man. You're just
2014.
I don't believe you don't understand this.
Can I ask?
Look, let's save the feigned exasperation for another time. Look, this 2014 argument's been drawn out long enough. Thank you very much indeed to both Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible, extended after show, I should say. And also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!